Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing? I know I have not done a live stream in a bit, but I've been very busy, so that's why I do have some time today. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Make sure you comment down below. Tell us what you think. Um, and sign up to the website, BAIO/register. The more people that we have, the more that we can do. I'll give 2 to 3 minutes for everybody to come in, get what they need before we get into today's subject based on the thumbnail. Okay, we're approaching the 3 minute mark, so I'm going to get started. So today's topic is, as you can see by the thumbnail, Black liberation was sabotaged. Basically, this is how self-determination for black self-determination movements have been sabotaged over today and over the years. So we're going to be talking about that, and we're going to be going in depth. So we're going to be talking about how historically they have been sabotaged and how they're being sabotaged today and what we can learn from them. Okay, so let's talk about how blacks self-determination movements were sabotaged. I know in the thumbnail I did not put that entirely correct, but I will do that when it archives. Um, so we're gonna go back to the Back to Africa movement in the 1800s. So one of the narratives that is constantly stated was the Back to Africa movement was a failure. The vast majority of Black Americans are African Americans. I don't like using the word Black Americans. The vast majority of African Americans didn't want to go back to Africa. They would consider themselves Americans. They wanted to be Americans. That's the narrative that's constantly displayed. In actuality, the Back to Africa movement was sabotaged in a lot of ways. We look at this today, we can look at this in the past. So there are a couple of things that you can read if you want more information. So read the book Black Savannah 1788 to 1864. I'm going to be taking some snippets from there. You can read a dissertation called For Land and Liberty. It's online. You can read that as well. There are also some books on the Exoduster movement in Liberia that talks about some infiltration and sabotaging. It's the book, I think it's called Exodusters, Black Migration to Kansas after Reconstruction. It talks about Liberia in numerous instances there, it being sabotaged, Liberia fever. So you can read that to sort of um get the gist of it. And there are a couple more that you can read. So I just wanted to give some suggestions, some advices on what you can read on how Black self-determination moves towards sabotage. If you also want to read the book White Malice, you can read that book. It talks basically about the CIA. And if you want to talk about another example of how bad African movement sabotage, Keisha and Blaine set the world on fire, Black nationalist women in the global struggle for freedom. So those are all books and suggestions that you can read if you want to understand how the bad African movement came to be, how it was sabotaged, etc. So we're going to start first with how the bad African movement was historically sabotaged. So I'm going to bring the example of Liberia's first Chief Justice. His name was Samuel Benedict. He was from the state of Savannah, Georgia. He was from Georgia. He was from Savannah. And he ended up becoming a Chief Justice. He also ran for president. I think it was the anti-administration party. Joseph Jenkins Roberts was the pro-administration party in 1848. He would lose to Joseph Jenkins Roberts, and he would try to run again against Joseph Jenkins Roberts, but he lost again. So he just served as Chief Justice of Liberia. And he did not, he died like not too far afterwards. But he's from the state of Savannah, and basically he lives in the state of Georgia. He's very successful during his time. He's not. Yeah, I was like correct. We represented the anti-administration party. So basically, Samuel Benedict is this dude who is from Georgia. He was born into slavery. He was let me get everything correct. Let me get everything from the African repository. Get all the information out to you. So he was born into slavery. He immigrated to Liberia in early on, I would say around the 1830s, 1840s. He went to Africa along with Isaac Roberts, who was the pastor of the Third African Baptist Church, Andrew Morrell Jr., Emmanuel Wanda Barber, Adam Anderson, the son of Thomas Anderson, who was the pastor of the Second African Baptist Church, and Jackson Simpson and his wife Sophia. He also went with his wife Mary Benedict, and he would go and establish, according to the African Repository, he wrote law books for the country. He didn't believe into adhering Blackstone and English law. He founded a lyceum, and he planted sugar and coffee. So he was a successful Black man. So he immigrated Liberia in 1835, and he was able to educate himself. So Samuel Benedict goes to Liberia from Savannah, Georgia, and when he leaves from Savannah, Georgia, there's going to be when he has Liberia, that's what's going on. But fast forward, we're going to go 15 years. We'll talk about 1849, 1850. So in 1849, 1850, you have thousands of African Americans that are not say thousands, hundreds of African Americans that immigrate to Liberia from Savannah. And thousands of African Americans show up to basically bid their farewell at the port of Savannah. And many of these African Americans saw Liberia as the land of African Americans' rightful inheritance. So they leave, and like I said, there's just this huge celebration. There was even a white pastor who did a service for them, a farewell service to the people. That what was going on. That was what was going on at that time. Okay, as they were heading on into the 1840s, late 1840s, 1850s. This is right before the passage of the 1850 fugitive slave law. So there's this farewell service. There's 4,000 to 5,000 people present at this departure, and when they leave, they're gonna become successful. They're gonna do well, right? So the next time that this happens in next May, there's going to be an even larger crowd of African Americans coming. So what ends up happening? White Savannahans become alarmed, and basically they try to stop any more departures happening from Savannah. This is what the white community is doing. Black people are excited to leave. There's this huge fervor going on. So white Savannahans basically say that this needs to stop. So they're pressuring the council to ban any future departures from Savannah, Georgia. That is one instance of how the Black African movement being sabotaged. Excuse me, is in one city, but it goes further back. We're gonna go even further back. So I'm in the four land of liberty dissertation. This is just it's a fantastic read. I'm hooked to every minute of it because they give you so many stories. It's insane how many stories they give, and it's just so in depth of how they do it. But there is one particular section that I haven't forgotten in the four land of liberty that I'm going to look through my notes so people can understand just how serious it was. It was before Liberia shot. It was actually in Sierra Leone as they were about to depart from Sierra Leone into Nova Scotia, from Nova Scotia. So I've talked about Sierra Leone. It was the oldest capital to be founded by African Americans. It was originally founded in 1787, but it got destroyed in 1790 by the Tene Kingdom. So they reestablished it back in 1792. But before Sierra Leone was established, they were black loyalists who fought for the British, who basically committed to the British. Most of the reason was not because of the fact that they were loyal to Great Britain, was because they were promised land and they were promised their freedom. So they ended up going to Nova Scotia and they stayed in Nova Scotia for a while. So that's going on. And there is a statement that the governor says, John Clarkson, that's who he is. His name is John Clarkson. And he says something that happens. So blacks in the South during the Revolutionary era. So we're going all the way back. Like I said, we started with Samuel Benedict, for example, and what's going on in Savannah. Samuel Benedict immigration, 1835. The mass immigration of black Savannahans happens 1848 to 1850, right before the Fugitive Slave Act, to a certain degree, to right after the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850. And we see in that situation that white Savannahans tried to stop black Americans from immigrating, shutting down any future departures from the state of Savannah. We're going to go even farther back into the 1790s, 1780s, right after the end of the American Revolution or the Revolutionary War. So black folks in Nova Scotia, black folks in the South, who, because most of those black loyalists are from the South, were, during the Revolutionary era, experienced protest control at the hands of whites when trying to exercise separatist agendas. Some whites in Nova Scotia tried to suppress early black separatists and prevent them from immigrating to Sierra Leone. John Clarkson met with great opposition from the principal gentlemen in Halifax, and that they would have it in their power to prevent the greatest part of the black people from accepting the offers of the company from their influences with them. So we see right there that the white community is trying to stop the greatest amount or the best amount of black people from immigrating basically back to Africa, to Sierra Leone, where they would have better pastures, they would have access to land, and of course they wouldn't have to deal with a lot of pressure from the white community. So that's what John Clarkson says, and that's what's going on in the during the Revolutionary era. Now, granted, the British did say that they those African Americans who fought for the British were going to be free. But that's because they wanted to basically stop the Americans. Now, the Americans obviously are no better, but this is what's going on. Because remember, the British Empire still has slavery going on in the West Indies, in the Bahamas, in Bermuda. So this was just more of an isolation, convenient type alliance. So a historian, and For Land and Liberty, you can read this. Historian Alexander Burt acknowledges that the interest of white employers and the damaged reputation Nova Scotia would suffer internationally if black grievances were authenticated and an exodus actually occurred. Whites must have valued the continued presence of blacks in Nova Scotia in order for the colonization effort to have generated the amount of targeted opposition that it did. Black laborers worked on the farms and in the residences of wealthier white Nova Scotians, and for far less than what would have been demanded by white workers. One black Nova Scotian resident said white people of this neighborhood were averse to any plans that blacks did to deprive them of assistance of the blacks in cultivation of their land, well knowing that people of their own color would never engage with them without being paid an equitable price for their labor. So that's what's going on in Sierra Leone. So we see again a second attempt to sabotage the movement. Now we have to understand the context because this is very important. Again, black separatists and black nationalists in the early 1700s to throughout the 19th century were in oppressive condition. They weren't able to organize the way that they wanted to. The black separatist movement was more powerful and more common than what people think. But the reason why it was sabotaged was because there's a very oppressive condition going on in the South. You have a situation in South Carolina where black people can't organize without the presence of a white overseer. You have situations where any sort of black-led movement is being shut down. And really the only way that black separatists were able to organize, black nationalists were able to organize is through working through white benefactors, which is why oftentimes in the case of early black separatists in the 1790s, 1780s, 1790s during the Revolutionary era, they most readily used oppression frames when attempting to attract movement sympathizers and participants. And that was primarily white people, white benefactors. So that's why the Back to Africa movement wasn't as forceful as people would like. When you have to cater to their interest, then what you really can say has to be diminished. And that all comes down to strategy. They were thinking in a strategic manner. They're slaves. They don't own the means of production. They don't have the power in this situation. So the way that they have to work is fundamentally different. They just can't be like us today and just be unapologetic. They can't do that. They couldn't do it. Okay? One of them even said, without the support of whites, the success of black immigration endeavors during the antebellum era, but also the revolutionary era, would have been uncertain. Okay? So, and also one of the other things that inhibited the Black African movement and Black liberation movements being successful is the condition of slavery. Now, before I get to that, there was something that was noted from even back in the Barbados in the 1830s when there was a slave revolt that happened. They used the same talking points. Strategy. This is what's going. It's strategy. They have to think from a strategic manner. And I'm trying to give me one quick second. I'm trying to find exactly where it was because there is one point that they bring up about particularly black leaders, black separatist leaders. So I'm going to, yes, it was from the great Ifioma. No, no, I'm probably gonna botch his name. Ifioma Nawanku suggests that within this context of white fear and potential reclamation of which they were profoundly aware, black elites had to decide whether and how to express their connections, both to their country of residence and to the whole world of African people, a whole world of people of African descent beyond their country. We have to understand how these situations were birthed and how these situations were created. We can't just look at these situations as just being, out of thin air. There's a context that's happening that's making this go on. And another point of how the movement was sabotaged. So we see, obviously, white people shutting down bad African movements. They are basically preventing the greatest white people from leaving. They're basically doing all of this matter. But another thing that happens, and I bring up the institution of slavery, was because the biggest determinant for black people considering immigration was family. Back in the day, people didn't move as individuals like we see today. People back in the day, when they immigrated in large numbers. They immigrated in mass. It wasn't one or two people leaving. It wasn't even a family leaving. It's the whole community leaving. It would basically be like this. In a black neighborhood, if one black family decides to leave, everybody in that black neighborhood is leaving. No black neighbor is being left. Every black neighbor is leaving. Whole church congregations all left together on one ship. It wasn't like today where it's like, okay, yeah, I'm about to hop on a plane. I understand, but I'm gonna go do me. No, family was the biggest consideration. And so you're in a tough spot if you're a slave or a free black, because you're in a situation where if you're a free black, because there were black people who had free black family members, if you're a free black and you want to immigrate, well, you can't really immigrate because you have family in slavery. And if you do immigrate, you're never going to see them again. So that's the dilemma situation that's happening. You don't have the luxury of being able to just leave because you still have family in slavery. Not only that, but when manumissions are happening and manumissions are granted happening, the slaves, the African American, the African slaves are basically dependent on whether or not that white master is actually going to go through with the promises of manumission. Because there were plenty of white masters who manumitted their slaves on the condition that they go to Liberia. But in order for that to happen, the state legislator had to approve of it. So we're in a situation where the state legislator, if they don't approve of it, it doesn't get passed. They don't get manumitted. They're still stuck in slavery and they get sold into slavery. And that happened numerous times. Where slaves were supposed to be free on the promises that they were able to go, and they weren't able to go. They were sold into slavery. They weren't in it. They ended up not being free. You have letter after letters being written We're not talking about one or two. We're talking about thousands of people, letter after letter being written of the people wanting to leave, but they don't have the means to leave. Okay? They don't have the means to leave. We have to look at it from that lens. We are slaves. We ain't got no money. We ain't got no resources like that. How we gonna get on a ship and go back to the continent if we ain't got no money? If there ain't no ships for us to go on, we gonna swim? What, we gonna become fish now? Swordfish? Mrs. Puff? Come on. It's unrealistic. Now that's the early period. Let's get to after Reconstruction. During Reconstruction, after Reconstruction. Even then, you have Black people sabotaging the movement, especially Black Northerners, because Black separatism and Black nationalism historically have been rooted and strongly guided by lower class to middle class Black Southerners. Black Northerners were some of the most conservative militant integrationists out there. Even though Liberian fever was spread as far as Massachusetts amongst especially the lower class of Black Northerners, there's some middle class Black Northerners, the vast majority of free Black Northerners were strongly opposed to immigration. Literally. And this is for all the New York folks. You can share this with New York. I'm about to throw some shade at New York because we need to talk about New York. I know some of y'all gonna feel uncomfortable, but we gonna have to talk about this. We gonna have to talk about this. Yeah. Here it is. So the people in New York. So there was a Black man in New York by the name of Lewis H. Putnam. He was a leader of the group called the Liberian Immigration and Agricultural Association in New York, and it was in 1851. The purpose of this movement was to aid in establishing a character for our people and promotion of civilization by the introduction of agriculture and on an extended scale, and thereby open a field for the reception of all who may require its support. He desired for each family of immigrants to be supplied with farm tools and provision for 6 months upon arrival in Liberia. So after he does this, Black folks in New York say Putnam should discontinue associating himself with Negroes of New York because of association with the American Colonization Society, our enemy vilifier. This is what's going on in the North. I've said this. The North is one of the biggest places that were against was against Black nationalism and Black separatism and for integration. Where did Frederick Douglass live? In the North. Yikes. Let's call it what it was. Man lived in the North, bro. Didn't come from the deep South. Oh, Dawood in there. Oh, shout out to Dawood. No, Dawood, I'm not talking about today. I'm talking about historically. Historically, New York, with the exception of Harlem, been on some integrationist stuff. That's what I'm saying. Jabari, post 1865, to what pressure level were whites exerting to discourage all Africans leaving from the U.S. and moving to Liberia? If not much pressure, what narrative prevailed to curtail the movement? Oh, they did. Post 1865, they did a lot. Racial violence was one of the ways that they tried to stop them. Economic hardship made it to the point to where Black people couldn't afford to leave. state legislators refuse to fully fund Back to Africa movements because, controversy to what people are aware of, state legislators were funding immigration movements for decades prior. Kentucky, Tennessee, Maryland, Mississippi. There were state legislators openly advocating for immigration of African Americans, but they never went through with it. Give you a point earlier. Do you not know that the United States government in the 1830s passed a bill to give funding for African Americans to immigrate out of the country? And another member of the American Colonization Society, the ACS, Mr. Andrew Jackson, yeah, him, Mr. Andrew Jackson vetoed the bill. It got to his desk and he vetoed the bill. You had post 1865 in I think it was 1930s and 1920s in Mississippi, in 1920s in the Mississippi, and 1930s in Virginia. You have a situation in Mississippi where the people vote to basically send black people back to Africa. But the business class is opposed to that in Mississippi. You got black folks in Virginia who like, yeah, let's go back to Africa. The state legislature votes to send black people back to Africa. And well, black people don't go back to Africa because why? They don't put the money that they're supposed to put in. It happens in Maryland. The Maryland Colonization Society is founded. Maryland gives money for immigration, and Lord and behold, ain't a lot of black folks going because they really don't spend the amount of money they were supposed to spend. We see this time and time again, Baruti. Bad African movements being sabotaged. Post 1865, we're going to go back to the 1940s. As late as the 1940s, you have in the state a federal petition that gets 400,000 signatures. Get sent to FDR. FDR is aware that this is going on. And you know what FDR does? FDR sends the State Department basically says, I'm sorry. We hear your concerns, we understand, but just right now we don't have enough money. This is what they doing. Sabotage. That's what it is. Just straight sabotage. That's what they're doing. That's what they were doing to control the movement. Or they were using, in the case of Black Northerners, as an example to discourage African Americans from going back to Africa. There's a reason why I keep bringing up Black Northerners. There's a reason why I keep bringing them up. The reason why I keep bringing them up is they were some of the biggest. When I mean biggest, I mean biggest. They was skinning and grinning. These Negro Northerners were skinning and grinning. They were thinking they winning. Hold on, I need to play that song again. Let me play that song again, because this is what Black Northerners were doing. Let me play this song again because it's true. This song rings bell. Let me. We're gonna play it. All right, y'all. Y'all can look at this song. That's your black Northerners for y'all. That was your black Northerners in the early 19th century. That is y'all's black Northerners in the 19th century. Yes, that's ideally the Baruti is so contradictory because like it's literally it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. So on one hand, they didn't want black people, they didn't want free black people to be here. Then in another same token, they said, well, we don't want black people here in general. We want America to be an all-white nation. But then in the same token, they're gonna say, well, we want black people to be in a labor force. We want black people to be held by in their place. So essentially, what they want black people historically was to do was to sit down, shut up, and be quiet. If and black folk, it was literally the phrase "damn if you do, damn if you don't." If we fight in America, they was gonna come after us. If we left America, they was gonna come after us. Or try to leave, they was gonna come after us. That's why I said the way that America was is sadistic. That is sadistic behavior. But go ahead, Hollip. I'm finished. I went over that. Oh, and then one final thing. One final thing. The first African American FBI agent was meant to sabotage and destroy Garvey. There's speculation that J. Edgar Hoover was mixed race and he passed for white. Can't fully verify that, but that's allegedly what was being thrown out there. If that was true, Negro sabotaging and how black liberation was sabotaged not just by white folks, but with internally by black folks and black Northerners and integrationists, W.B. Du Bois earlier. So yeah, that's the icing on the cake. I mean that's on the icing on the cake. White Americans, black Northerners in the 19th century, militant integrationists, and a northern black elite. There's we wonder why am I just bashing the North? Because the North was where this ideology of integrationism primarily skewed. And black folks who were in the North who did support going back to Africa was a completely different motive than black folks in the South. Black folks in the North were geared primarily for evangelism, religious missionary work. Cultural, racial uplift was their motivation. Now there were black, like I said, there were poor black and middle class black Northerners who were on that, and there were black Northern elites who were on that separatist train, nationalist train as well. But it was on a completely different reason. Black Southerners were primarily motivated by land and economic opportunity. They did not care what religion African indigenous people worshipped. Black Northerners cared about it. They wanted to Christianize the African community. Two different reasons. Oh, Baruti, do not bring that up. Do not bring up the fact that he came to A&T. Oh my God. Boo. Oh my God. Don't bring him up, Baruti. Don't. But yeah. We hit the 40-minute mark. Holla, you're here. You're here. You get a chance to speak, and anybody else can come on in and you can thoughts.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I just wanted to lighten the mood. Can you see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
You prank called Rosa Parks? She stole my thunder. Robert, you got to let it go.
What did Rosa Parks do to you?
Robert was a member of the Montgomery Bus Boycott Strategic Planning Committee in 1955. He was on that bus with Sister Rosa that fateful day.
No.
Okay, this is it, brother. Remember, no matter what they do, nobody gives up their seat. You dig?
We shall not be moved.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all can go head on to the back.
We's moving, Mr. Boss Man. We's moving. Lord, sure do wish these here feet could move faster for you, Mr.
Move,
Boss
boy.
Man. Have some roller skates on, I can get back there real quick. This here far enough
No.
for you, Mr. Boss Man. I can press myself up against the cold glass window. This good?
You. Go ahead to the back.
No, I am not going to move.
Mr. Bus Driver, sir, she ain't moved.
How dare you refuse to give up your seat, woman? What are you, some kind of history-making crusader for justice?
Yes, we are.
You think you're gonna change history on your own? Is that it, woman? All by yourself?
That lady sure has courage.
Hey, what about me? I got courage.
You want me to fetch the police?
Hey, can
for
someone
you,
get me the
Mr. Bus
sheriff?
Driver,
I got
sir?
a colored woman here who don't want to give up her seat.
Stay strong, Sister Rosa.
We'll love you forever.
That's right. Take us to jail. We're not afraid.
Stay out of trouble.
Robert, you didn't.
They laid her in state. They ain't gonna lay my black ass in state. They gonna lay me at the Johnson fucking mortuary down the damn street.
Just thought I'd share that with you guys.
Oh dear God.
We is moving, Mr. Boss Man. We is moving. Oh man, how you guys doing today?
Oh, busy. Got a lot to do. Been making a lot of business moves. Yeah, that's it. How about yourself?
I got to hang out with some BAIO members yesterday. I was hanging out with Ronan, hanging out with Max 611, Big Brother R, my cousin Larry. We were just chilling in the city. Went to the movies. Went, caught something to eat afterwards. It was good. It was good. I haven't had a chance to hang out in a while.
Yeah, I've never been to New York, so it's gonna be.
You ain't missing nothing. You ain't missing nothing. I wouldn't even advise coming to New York. New York is, if you didn't get to experience New York in its heyday, it's really like a shell of its former self right now. I'm ready to get out of here.
Don't feel bad, Baruti. I like sitting in. I like sitting in the front only because I just want to get off faster. And just sitting in the back just takes too much energy. That's really was the only reason. But like back in the day, back in high school, sitting in the back was the place to be.
Well, it's like the thing is, at least you had a choice.
Yeah, that's the thing.
You can sit in the front or you can sit in the back.
Yeah.
I think that's what,
Yeah.
the women's issue was. It's like it wasn't about being objectified. It was their choice to be objectified.
Oh my holla! Don't get.
Hey, it is what it is. How dare you objectify me? Let me do that myself. I get you. Oh, did Mojo never been to New York either? Wow. Yeah, it's not the same, man. It's really not the same. Like New York in its like I used to say when New York was in its heyday, there was no place in the world like New York in the summertime. I don't care if I was living overseas, I would still have a place in New York so I could come and experience a New York summer.
I'll say
not the same anymore.
I'll say it is. Well, I would say Harlem. I don't know about this. I say Harlem rocked from the 20s to the 50s. Afterwards, Harlem wasn't
Well, rocked in terms of what though?
in terms of cultural like significance and gravity. Like from the 20s to the 50s and like early 60s, Harlem was the place. Post 1960,
Yeah, in terms of that, I would say I wouldn't say
because
60s, maybe like
after the 80s, it was
yeah,
for sure
I would
gone.
say 70s, and then after the 80s, that's when you know,
Yeah, after 80s, once it hit the 1980s, that was it. It was
yeah.
gone. It was it.
But New York, like Harlem right now, looks like 34th Street.
I don't even consider Harlem anymore. It's just a place.
Yeah, it's basically everything looks like 34th and 42nd Street now in New York. It's like that's the thing about middle America. When you say middle America, what it means is that you take something that's authentic and make it lame. You know? So whenever you say, oh, middle America, it's like you just anything. It's like instead of having Italian food made by real Italian people, you get Olive Garden. Instead of having real Mexican food, you get, Chipotle. It's like it's just take anything authentic and make it lame, and then you got middle America. And that's what New York is now. They just make everything lame. It used to be like some, unique experiences. Now it's just, just biting and imitating something else. It's like I want to see. If you want to experience a culture watered down, then come to New York.
Y'all hear me?
I hear you.
Huh?
I hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
My headset messing up. Hang on. Y'all gonna have to pardon me, man. Sorry, y'all.
Okay. Audio audio issues. I mean, we can hear you. I don't know if you can hear us.
Yeah, I'm about to say we can hear you just
Oh, that Boondocks clip was inspiring.
I'm in the gym though, and I can't hear y'all. My headset.
Oh.
When I come onto the screen, my headpiece isn't receiving. So it's really
Okay.
irritating. When I was on YouTube, I'm hearing y'all fine. Then I come on the screen and I can't hear y'all. And I'm in the gym, so I can't turn it up. So I'm gonna just listen in, y'all.
All right.
Okay. No problem.
Yeah. So any words that you got to say from the live? Because I don't want to make this too long.
No, we ain't gonna stay on too long. I mean, I think you pretty much covered everything. I would just say that I wouldn't really make any real distinctions when it comes to the nuance between like Black self-determination movements, because I think everybody's guilty. It's just a matter of what degree. Because Lord knows there's plenty of coons in the South.
Oh yeah.
Plenty.
Oh yeah. I'm not saying that all Black Southerners were about it, but just the primary leaders and organizers of the movement were Black Southerners. Now, there were, especially amongst the upper classes, there was that
Yeah, but that's what I mean. It's like when it comes to class, I don't think that there's any regional distinction. It's like when you have like a middle upper to middle, well, not middle, but upper to higher class Black folks, their interests are all the same. They're not trying to rock the boat. For the most part, they're just trying to maintain the status quo.
Because
that's why they're Democrats.
They lose their money.
Yeah, but I understand though. I definitely understand. But I think ultimately, at the end of the day, what's going to determine what the future of African people is going to be is what the grassroots people want it to be. Ultimately, If they don't stand up and show what they want or how they want their future to be, then they're just going to be twisting in the wind to the people that's representing them.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of that, I was actually doing a lot of research on grassroots organizing. I think we need to adopt some of the grassroots strategies. I think that's the only way to grow is to adopt grassroots organizing strategies.
Yeah, definitely. And people need to get involved, man. See, the biggest thing,
Yeah.
because I had a discussion with somebody like a BAIO member recently, and they were talking about how the BAIO needs to engage in like maybe tours and stuff like that so that we can make money. And my question was, why? Let's say we do that and we make money. What are we making money for exactly? Like, what's the purpose of making the money?
Yeah.
And I couldn't really get an answer because there is no reason.
Yeah.
Like,
and also you got to understand, like, we can give people tours, but giving people a tour is not what we're there for. We're not there for our people to tour. Like, we're not there for that reason. And so that also comes back to what grassroots organizing, and that in order for us to be active, it's not just like, oh, it's just doing tours. Because I was studying grassroots movements a couple yesterday, and one of the things that they picked up was are we mobilizing letter writing? Are we phone calling? Are we emailing? Are we gathering signatures? Are we putting up posters? Are we talking with people? Are we going on the street? Are we walking door to door? Because I plan on to do that later on. Obviously, I'm a college student right now, so I'm very busy right now. But especially once I graduate, I plan on doing this because grassroots movement means you actually have to talk to people on the ground. It's going to require us to have to walk door to door. Granted, that might, some people might be shy, but it's something we're going to have to do. We're going to have to go door to door. We're going to have campaigns. We're going to have to start doing this because if you want people to get active, that's the thing you got to tell. What are they going to do? How can they help? Well, you can help the BAIO by one, sharing videos, but two, host your own book club, host events, have Zoom meetings, actual grassroots organizing. Create a petition. We could create a petition to try to see, for the case for citizenship for African Americans. We could try to do that. But it's got to be actual grassroots organizing and not just a social media gathering. Because granted, you can have a huge following on social media, but the real strength comes from is when it's actually happening on the ground. But
there's something that I think needs to be discussed, and I don't know. Maybe I may be wrong, but I don't think we've covered this with a live stream. But I don't think that people are really looking at the impact that AI is going to have on the working force.
Oh yeah, or AI is going to have a massive. It's going to alter the way that we think. There's a reason why we call it the technological singularity.
And it seems like nobody's talking about it. Yeah, nobody's talking about it. Everybody just thinks that jobs are going to exist forever, that everybody's going to be working.
No. There's going to be a post-work society. You're going to have a situation where AI advances faster than humans to the point to where the human mind becomes obsolete and we got to merge with man. I understand some people don't like that, but eventually you might have to upgrade your arm. You might have to upgrade your legs. You might have to upgrade your brain. It's what it is. But this comes to organizing. We got to share that. We got to talk to people on the ground.
Yeah, people, there's a lot of discussions that we're not having. And the reason why we're not having them is because we don't think as a nation. We don't think as a group of people, and we don't think as a collective. We think as individuals. So it's a lot of these systems in place that we don't even, it's not even on our radar. You know what I'm saying? Like global. What do you care? If you're an individual, what the fuck do you care about climate change?
Exactly.
Like you don't give a fuck about that. All you care about is stocks. You know, like if you've invested in the right stocks and all this other stuff. It's like we have very systemic things that we're going to have to deal with collectively as a people that we need to start talking about. But before we can even have the conversation, we got to look at ourselves as a nation.
Who is the
Exactly.
we? Who it comes to the who and the we and who is the us argument, right? But
Right.
but like as you was talking, I was thinking about like actually identifying or y'all know I always gotta come with extras. I was thinking about like identifying our population, because by and large, when we talk to people, we could always get everybody to agree that we all have problems as Black people. We all share the same problems and we share the same experiences, particularly in America. And then we all agree that we want to change it. I think every Black person would say, sure, I would like to not see, police killings. And sure, I would like to think that when my kid go out to get a job, he has the same chance, right? Everybody would say yes. So it's about finding the people who have seen through the BS and knows that America is never going to change in that way for Black folks. So we can have these changes, but it has to be away from here. It's identifying those people, because when we argue with people, everybody will agree that we want to see the change. Nobody will say, hell no, this is great. We get to see each other killed on the news, and we kill each other, be a gangbang. This shit is awesome. Everybody said they want to change, but most of us want to try to change it here. And I'm like, imagine putting all of that energy that you do in American politics and American socialization into your own country, man. Like, imagine, like, where your vote actually matters, like where the people who's in office are literally your family members, type of stuff. And we don't see that. We don't see
No,
that as a possibility.
I think a lot of people do see that, because when I looked at that poll, even amongst Black folks who didn't say that, even amongst Black Republicans to a certain degree, some Black Republicans said being Black was very important to them, or had a commonality with Black people around the world. So there is a substantial part of the Black population that is on that. The thing is, it's grassroots organized.
Wait a minute. Say that again. Say that again, Barry, please. When you said that being Black is important to him, say that whole phrase again. I'm trying to see what context you were saying that in.
They said a lot of Black people said that being Black was extremely important to them, especially when it came to Black people around the world, and Black people, how the fate of Black people is directly in America, is directly connected to Black people in the world. So there is that chunk there. The problem is the organizing, because that's what's going to trigger the mass mobilization. We have to actually have not only boots on the ground in Liberia, but we have the grassroots in America in order to build up that mass mobilization effort, which is why I'm now focusing and researching on grassroots movements. Because when you look historically, based on what I've read and what I'm trying to learn more, is that mass mobilizations happen through community leaders and through bridge leaders that send the messages from the leadership, the top leadership or the national leadership, to the people below.
So here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. Also included in most mass movements was times where it was something extreme socialization issues, where it was stuff that was going on, where everybody was on one accord saying this has to stop somehow, some way. So we're gonna do sit-ins, we're gonna do boycotts, and we're gonna do all these things, right? So now we fast forward to 2022. We've had some of the most disgusting things happening to our people, and now we're in an age of like, just let this be popular, kind of apologize, put some phrases on the football field, let us wear Malcolm X on our jerseys for the playoffs, and then everybody will be fine. You know what I'm saying? Give us some stimulus checks and everybody will be fine. So it's like, what is going to get us uncomfortable enough? Because it don't seem like anything is working now, like straight up. Because you have to admit, it was also social issues that was so uncomfortable and so egregious that most of the Black people was like, no, I'm not going to stand here watching my people getting lynched. That is stupid. Let's do something. Let's go. Nowadays, it's like we see a lynching, hear a lynching, and literally share it, and then just talk about it, and then make videos about it, and the next day talk about Rihanna pregnant.
I think to a certain degree I would have to push back a little. The only reason I'd push back on a little is because the mass movements, like when we talk about the civil rights movement, right? Like, we'll talk about the civil rights movement, for example, and what it did. The civil rights movement was a 20-year event that took from 1955 to 75. That was 20 years. It was like, because we didn't live through it, it seems really quick. Like, oh yeah, people back in the day. No, it's like with Garvey. Garvey's movement peaked 8 years after it was founded in 1928. So from 1919 to 1928, that's about 8 to 9 years of organizing and mass mobilization. That's where that's how I look at it. Is it's gonna take that amount of time to grassroots organize, to mass mobilize. Because the very first thing that we got to do is we have a good message, we have a convincing message, but we have to spread that to everybody around us. We have to share that with everybody. And what I mean by share, I mean we're giving out pamphlets, we're giving out brochures, we're doing bankings, we're doing phone calls, we're doing, like, it's got to be at that level. Because once they start seeing that this is what's actually going, that they can actually be a part, but there's also a grassroots movement of trying to connect the average everyday person, then I think that's when it really kicks in. I'm trying to learn from that myself. How can I talk to everyday people and spread the message quick, simple to everyday people?
Oh yeah, Nationhood Nico says something that I've been saying for years. You see that?
Yeah, we need a process which allows individuals to go record of being in favor or not in favor of nationhood.
Yeah, that's the question. But you know, the funny thing about it is that they say before you can achieve something, you have to perceive it.
Yep.
You have to visualize it. It's like, I look at it as like let's say you have working class people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have rich people. So working class people, a lot of times, and I'm not saying all the time, but most, like if you look at it on the average, it's like they work, they do what they're supposed to do, blah, 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 blah. But they're not really thinking about the future like that. Like, what am I going to do once I stop working? How am I going to live once I retire? It's like, that's a different mindset. So the moves that you make during your working class life are going to be affected by your mentality.
Mm-hmm.
What's your purpose of working? So you see what I'm saying? It's like two people can work at the same job, but one person has the right mindset of what they're going to do after their work is over, and the other person is just working. And it's the same thing with people, like to go back to the nationhood discussion. You have us who are more concerned about our individual selves, or maybe our family, maybe, but not a lot of us, or there's a very small percentage of us thinking about the whole, thinking about the collective. Thinking about, one of the things that I think about all the time is water wars. When it comes to a situation where people need water, and you have a place that you live in that dominates with water, what are you going to do about it? Because if people can't get something, guess what? They're going to go to the place that has it. What are you prepared to do about that?
Mm-hmm.
What are you prepared to do about asylum seekers and immigrants and people coming from other places that are just war torn, or either going through some type of global climate crisis or whatever, and now they want to flood your boat? What are you going to do about that? Nobody's talking about it because we're thinking as individuals. We're not thinking about having a land and having a nation and having immigration policies and all this other stuff. We think small, is what I'm trying to say. We really think small. And when you listen to what the people that's on the mic, the people that dominate the airwaves, they're small thinkers. So is there any wonder why the grassroots can't get any momentum to do anything? Because look who they're learning from. Look who they're getting their lessons from. And most of the people that's teaching the grassroots in our community are self-help gurus.
Yep.
They don't teach them about the collective. They teach them about themselves and how can they personally gain success.
Yep.
totally disconnecting them from the group in which they come from. That's what the problem is. Like I said, there's a reason why Kevin Samuels is popular. Don't get mad at him. Get mad at the circumstances that created him. Because if he's gone, there's going to be another one. And nobody wants to have that conversation.
Can I jump in?
Yeah,
jump right on in, sister.
I just wanted to underscore Jabari's point about learning the grassroots effort, because I think it's key in getting some momentum going, which touches on your point, Holub, about, thinking small versus thinking on a larger scale. Because I just want to let you know, my background is, I just finished a program in marketing. And one of the things they do when you see a blog or you see something on YouTube, there's a whole arm that does distribution of that message. And they will slice and dice that message for every different audience. So, just use that example for us. We've got a message, BAIO's message, like you said, it cannot be argued. People agree with it. It's a matter of spreading the information and getting it out there. And, if people are listening now and want to become more active and engaged, this is where we need input. We need a whole distribution network in order to get this out. And that's just plainly saying what we need.
And you know what? The biggest problem that we have, I think, is it's like everybody keeps looking to everybody else to do something, and nobody. It's like you got to have people that's proactive. Could you imagine? All right, let me give you an example. We have like the BAIO TikTok, right? Jabari has a TikTok channel. Let's use Jabari's videos for an example. Let's say we take one of Jabari's videos and we do a duet for his video. Meaning, and all a duet is, you like split the screen, you have Jabari's video playing, and all you are doing is just listening to his video play. So it's basically you giving a reaction. You don't have to say a word. That's the duet. Let's say every member of the BAIO did that to Jabari's video. What do you think would happen to Jabari's video?
Greater distribution.
And what would ultimately happen? Because if the algorithm sees that a bunch of people are reacting off of one video.
Exactly. It lifts the message. Message gets exposed to more people because the algorithm is based on who is reacting. Are they engaged with it? This is engagement.
So this is the big deal. This is the thing. And this is why I say, if we can't do the little things, I don't have much faith for the big things. If we can't do a little thing like share a video and comment on a video, then what is my motivation to think that you got people that can get a passport and go overseas? I'm keeping it real. You can't share a video and like a video and comment on a video. Those three things, if every member of the BAIO did that, our content would be all over the place. Go and check every BAIO, and see, this is what I talk about when I say personal responsibility. I can't be responsible for everybody, but I can be responsible for myself. Go back and check every BAIO video on the YouTube channel and see if Holub is not on there. With a comment, with a thumbs up, with something, sharing that video, liking it or whatever. That's all I can do as an individual. I can do that myself. But imagine if everybody did that.
Well, we got to think of ourselves as an army sometimes.
And how much energy is that? How much energy does it take to like a video, share a video, and comment on a video? How much energy does that take? So if you don't have the energy to do that, It's very discouraging. It's discouraging. Like, I don't have confidence that somebody's going to get a passport, go overseas, and build businesses and do all this other extra stuff that most people don't have money to get to the continent. People don't have thousands of dollars at their disposal so they can go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can't do a small thing like share, comment on the video, or a small thing like join a website, come on, man.
And then also when
everybody got to look at themselves and see, what am I doing and what am I doing to contribute to whatever it is that we're trying to achieve. And if you see that you're not doing that, nobody even has to say anything to you. You know what you're doing and what you're not doing. Every person knows this.
Mm-hmm. And I would also say that even when it comes down to membership, you need to. I think one of the things I'm trying to learn is set many goals for membership. I think that matters, because part of grassroots organizing is you want to get as many people, but you set a goal by saying, okay, I want to get at least 2 people. I'm going to talk to as many people, and I just want at least 2 to 3 people to sign up. If 2 to 3 people sign up, that's a benefit, because now they can go and spread them and say, can you get also 2 to 3 members as well? We're trying to get to 1,000. Because when people know that you have a goal, they're more likely willing to participate in it, because they know what you want. When you're very vague and say, oh, well, why don't you, do this and that? It's kind of like, okay, but what do you want me to do? Like, yeah, you got a pretty good idea, but what is it that you want? What are you trying to achieve? And that's what I'm trying. I'm trying, like, okay, let me get, like, if I can just get at least 2 members, 2 people to sign up, that's a win. If I can say, hey, look, can you at least get 2 to 3 people? If you know anybody in these departments, can you be willing to share this with them, so that they can do this? This is what they would be doing if they were part of the organization.
Yeah, because then you got active members who's feeling guilty because they can't do shit when they've been doing so much. You got people who's very active in the BAIO who do a lot of shit, and they're guilty because they feel like they're not doing enough. And then you have people who ain't doing nothing. Not even the ability to like and share and comment on a video, which is the bare minimum that you can do. I mean, it is what it is. And I want to give a shout out to Yamoja, because he did a duet for one of my videos. I appreciate it. I want to do something for Jabari. I want to do something for the BAIO.
Yeah,
personally,
I wanted to do that BAIO Liberia one. I've been trying to do that, but I haven't. I've been busy on trying to get this upcoming TikTok video right. So
yeah, man, you do a lot, man. You do a lot. You're like one of the most active members. So if everybody steps up to the plate and just on it, like, and I'm not even talking about people putting together live streams or hosting shows. I'm talking about a clique.
But that's been a constant. If we're being real, that's been a constant for like years. People not sharing the material, like, and that goes back to that. If we're being honest, it's that consciousness of being scared. Like, let's just be real. Like, you uncomfortable with the message, really. Even if you believe it, even if you're serious about it, but you're uncomfortable with sharing it, that's not helping the cause. And I'm not talking crazy about anybody or pointing fingers at anybody. I get it, like, straight up. But that's like,
don't even qualify it. Don't even
I'm just saying, though,
qualify it.
like, if we're being honest, like, let's be honest. Like, let's not just pussyfoot around our issues.
Exactly.
People don't feel comfortable about sharing the messages, and that's very problematic. Straight up, when there's hundreds of people in the organization, there's only 3, 4, or 5 people sharing the material. That's not gonna move the needle. That's all.
No, it's not. Everybody has to be involved. It has to be all hands on deck. And that's why I say I'm big into. People always talk about personal responsibility. I'm big into that. I can only be responsible for me and what I do, and I know what I do to push the message of nationhood and push the message of BAIO. Anytime somebody drops a video, I'm there liking it, I'm there commenting on it, and I'm sharing it every single time. If you can find a VII video with me not on it, good luck. And that's just a click on the fucking keyboard, or click on your mouse, or a couple of strokes on your keyboard to type a comment. Sometimes the comment could just be first. I'm the first comment.
It's almost like I look at it like if any of my if I see like a black business, or especially if I know them, if it's not something I'm into, or if it's something that I can't afford at the time, or I can't support it, I will share it and say, this is good, these good people, support them.
Mhm.
I don't care if it's a book, from a book to a damn coffee mug. If you black and you with this and you with your people and you got something, share it, because somebody who I know might see the soap that Sister Salima buys and order it online all the way from the West Coast,
Yeah.
and that didn't put $50 in her pocket. You know what I'm saying? Somebody who she has no idea, but brought her a customer. And that's the same thing with this. Somebody who would never be on my page ever might be on somebody else in the organization page and be like, let me check this out. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah, you posted some
it's
stuff
simple
up there
mathematics.
that got my attention that I didn't know about, and I'm into this shit.
Right.
You
Exactly.
know, so you'll post some
Exactly.
stuff, and I'll be like, "Oh shit, somebody does this. Let me check them out." It takes so minimal energy to like something, to share something, and to comment on it. That is minimal energy. And if you can't get people to do the minimal energy stuff, how you going to go and rely on them to do the big stuff, which is moving overseas, establishing a nation, and all this other stuff overseas? Well, you can't
Simple
do
math.
little simple shit like liking a video, share, and subscribing to it. There's been people that's listening to my content that have not subscribed to my channel. That's a click. That's a mouse click. What possible reason is there for that? So, it's like we all have to take personal responsibility to do what we can to push the needle forward. If this is something that we actually believe in. Now, if we don't believe in it, then I guess you're doing what you're supposed to do, which is nothing. But guess what? Don't complain. Don't complain about America. Don't complain about the police. Don't complain about nothing. Be satisfied with the way that things are, because you're not doing anything to push the needle further or in another direction to something that we need. That's my thing. I just want consistency. I don't like people who's inconsistent. I don't like when you come conveniently black. You only get black when there's a problem. Any other time you down with the status quo. I'm not down with that. And like I said, this is like it's like that old saying becomes apparent. If you throw a rock into a pile of dogs, the only one that yelps is the one that got hit. So I'm not worried about offending nobody. I'm just telling the truth. Now, thank you all for giving me the mic and running my mouth. Thank you. But me and Assyria has talked about this before. Like, remember we was having a conversation about the sisters?
Yeah.
It's not. It's just across the board. So ultimately, at the end of the day, do we really want this or do we not want it? Because I could tell you, me personally, I am not going to be a martyr for a non-existent cause. I'm not doing it, and nobody else should do it either. Because if your position is I'm just going to live my life and fuck it, well then why support people that's trying to work in your interests? Doesn't make any sense to me. Because they could be living their life and saying fuck it too. It ain't just you. Are we going to be about the whole, or are we going to be about ourselves?
Message.
Period. Because if you're going to be about yourself, don't be a hypocrite. Don't support nationalist stuff. Don't support people that's talking about the collective if you ain't really about that. And what is the big requirement that you are that people are requesting? Are they requesting blood and urine samples? DNA tests? 10% of your salary? What's being requested? Minimal participation. Minimal. Like, share, subscribe, comment. Minimal participation. If every single person put in minimal participation, the needle would be moved forward exponentially. You ever seen the National Geographic where they show the what's the channel that shows the animals?
Discovery.
Ronan. Oh, Discovery. Ronan talks to me about that all the time. Do you see how ants operate? Ants could take move objects way bigger than them individually, but as a collective, they can move great big objects. How do they do it? By working together. It's so fucking simple. It's so simple. It's ridiculous. I mean, am I saying something wrong? Like, am I stepping on any toes? What I'm saying, because sometimes I run my mouth and I don't know if I'm, saying the right thing or not. But this is what I feel. Hello?
Sounds like it's time for a poll.
A poll?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Oh, we got to understand why we're not getting the responses that we're getting or seeking. This is the mechanism to get the message out through social media. So people need to let us know if they can participate in that or not, or what's the stumbling block? Because I mean, we have to give more information just to get the COVID vaccine. So, I need to understand what's missing.
I was talking a few days ago with somebody. I can't remember. It could have been in one of the chats actually, and I was mentioning how our issues are like so multi-faceted that it's like almost infinite. So like it's really difficult to have an open and honest and clear conversation about nationhood and getting away from here without somebody bringing up something like, what about my white partner? Well, what about my people? Seriously though, what kind of education is it going to be? What kind of like, and it's so much stuff, right? Like seriously, it's so much stuff. Like we can't get past being like appreciative of Black love. We make it seem like it's like this mystical thing. You know what I'm saying? Seriously, or just like men loving women.
I mean,
you know what I'm saying? Straight up though, it's like a lot that it's a lot that goes on, and we cannot focus. It's hard to get us to focus.
I think where that comes from, I don't think they're disingenuous. Now, I can understand somebody who's deliberately disingenuous, like if they were an FBA ADOS person and they were asking this question. But if the average everyday person asked that question, I would explain to them and actually, go through it with them, because I think we have to consider, yeah, we want this nation, but and we do, and people can say, yeah, I agree, we should have a nation. Right. Okay, great. Step one. We all agree that we want a nation. Great. That's step one. Mission accomplished. Now, how are we gonna make it look? Now what are the policies and things that we're gonna implement? Because that's the next step. Because whether or not we agree with the nation, I mean, you can go on some TikTok videos and Black folks agree that there should be a nation. But next thing is, what are we going to implement now? That's what we got to start thinking next. Because
exactly.
If we agree that we have a nation, but we can't explain to people, okay, what's gonna be the criteria, what's gonna be the education system, how are we gonna structure the economy? Then it's like, okay, I agree with you, but have you really thought this through? Have you really thought this out? Like, we're gonna have to be able to explain this to everyday people on the street. We can't just be like, yeah, I agree with you have a nation. Okay, so what policies or things are you planning to implement? Well, see, we can decide that later. It's gonna come off as being sort of like you would kind of second guess that. So I understand why they would ask that question, Umoja. I understand that we want to like move quickly, and I understand like the sense of urgency, but at the same time, we do got to do with clarity and specificity, and not just be,
But see, that's the
vague.
thing. That's the thing. We have been very specific. If
Exactly.
you go to
Exactly.
our channel, we have broken it
Are you
down
okay?
so much that I
You
don't think
okay?
we can break it
Wait a
down
minute.
anymore. Like I'll give you as
No,
an example of
what
what
I
you
mean
guys
by
are talking
specific,
about.
what I mean by
Wait,
what I mean by
hold on 1 second. I'm gonna give you an example of what I'm talking about because I had this conversation actually yesterday, and we were talking about the whole whataboutism and what if this and how come and all the stuff that people bring in. And I asked the person, where are we sitting right now? And we were in a restaurant in New York City, big restaurant. How many people are in this restaurant right now? How many different ideologies are there in this restaurant? They got straight people, gay people, Indian, Jewish, black. But you got all these wide variety of people, various ethnicities, various ideologies. And guess what we're all doing right now? We're in this restaurant ordering food and eating. There's no warfare going on. There's no fights breaking out. So the very thing that you're arguing about, you're living right now. You're asking the question and you're living it right now. The answer, you're living it. We make shit that like you have to break things down to make it, relatable to people so that they understand
Yeah.
that these are not highfalutin ideals. This is stuff that you're actually doing right now.
Exactly.
The only difference is you're doing it within your own context. So differences aren't a fork in the road or some line that line in the sand. It's what you deal with on an everyday, regular basis. When you go to your job, everybody doesn't believe in the same fucking things you believe in, but yet you're able to work at the same place and accomplish goals. Why does that become so mysterious when it comes to your own ass?
Because it gets back to one of the most original things of yours in the BAIO, stalling tactics. And that's where it frustrates me. Like, we want to be so soft and gentle with everybody, and that's okay. I'm not saying that's not okay, but sometimes we need to just put our foots in the ground and move. We do not
Right.
have time to be waiting for everybody to agree on the same thing. If we all agree on nationhood, then those people need to come together and start making those plans and figuring out who's going to be in this, who's going to be in this faction, who's going to be in that faction, who's going to be in education, who's going to be in construction, who's
Right.
going to be over here, and let those people start to work. Not hold on. Let's get everybody to figure out what the construction is going to be. Let's get everybody to figure out what the end. And then once we have all that figured out, then people will come. It'll never happen.
No.
It'll never happen.
We have
It'll never
enough
happen.
people to do what we have to do right now. The thing is, those people have to get involved. I'm not even talking like the people that's not down with nationhood. To be honest with you, I don't even think about them. Me personally, now I know that that's people that we have to address and we have to put a message out that's welcoming to people coming from that. I understand that totally. But for me, my position, there's enough people that we have in our midst right now that we can get something done. They got to get involved. There's no excuse not to be involved. The people that's not down for nationhood, the people that's on the fence, the people that don't know, well, what are you going to do, where to land at, and all that other shit, I understand them completely. What I don't understand is the people that know what time it is. Why ain't you getting involved? Why do the people who know what time it is not liking videos and sharing videos and commenting on videos? What's your issue? What do we have to do for them? The people that already know, who have watched and listened to all of our content. They've seen all the talking point smashes. They've seen all the live stream. They know this shit like the back of their fucking hand.
Bingo.
That's the people that I'm talking about. What, they need another PowerPoint?
Just to be clear, me too, and not the movement. Like, that's what I'm talking about too. The people, I'm not talking about people who's not with it. Like, they not the
Okay.
concerned. Like, just to be clear, I'm not talking about people who's not with it. Like, I don't argue with people who's not with it, and I don't try to convince people who's not with it anymore. I feel like I'm better served talking to and getting with and connecting with people who are with it, and connecting with those people, particularly if they're not a part of the BAIO, but we can share resources and stuff like that. People who not with it, I don't really want to talk because I don't have the patience for it, because I feel that it's not real. Personally,
Yeah.
I can't understand how a grown person don't understand what's going on and have to be taught this. I just can't personally, not no more. Don't have time for it.
And at the same, I'm in the same
I'm not gonna
thing.
cuss them out. I'm not gonna cuss them out and say you know what I'm saying, like that. I just don't engage personally.
Yeah, I agree with you. But the only but I do acknowledge that they have to be spoke. There are people who have more patience to deal with them. I acknowledge that.
Bingo.
I acknowledge
See,
that, and they need to be dealt with. It ain't me.
And that's where grassroots organizing comes in, because when you grassroots organize, you don't have to do that because there's already people on the ground that can do that for you.
Right.
It all comes down to grassroots organizing. Once you grassroots organize and we say, hey, look, listen, you're doing this. These are our different divisions. This is what you would be doing in each division. You'd be doing telephone calls. You'd be going door to door. You'd be answering emails. Then it takes the stress off of everybody, because not everybody doesn't have to think, oh, I got to do everything. It's like, nah, bro, if you good with communication, we got a communication department for you. This is how you sign up for it. And then once you sign up for it, this is what we're going to do. Once you sign up, this is what you're going to do. This is your first task. This is your second task. Here's your third task. Here's your fourth task. Here's your fifth task.
Yep.
I should throw this in there just to give it a point. We listen to politicians, and they have to the way the political system is, they have to craft their platform, and basically it's a wish list telling the audience what they want to hear and see. And that's what gets them their votes. We either believe them or we don't believe them, and that's what gets them their votes. So how is this different? This platform has been defined, well defined. The only thing it's missing is activity, is action. So is it a matter of people not wanting to give their time or do that action? They want somebody else to do it? Fine. Okay. People like that usually they give in another way. Either their eyeballs and attention. There's different ways of giving. Some people like giving their money. They don't like giving up their time. There's all different things that you can give. So when we look at getting people involved, we have to consider all of these different alternatives. Because from what I'm hearing, socially, we're not the only ethnic group that is considering what the future is going to look like. I've heard from somebody Jewish who is part of a social group who's doing the same considerations that we're talking about right now. Theirs is fueled by the rise of anti-Semitism. So we're on the right track. Don't ever question if we're on the right track or not. We are on the right track.
Yeah. I keep thinking about that time frame. It was that small window of time. Remember when I think it was either George Floyd or it was Eric Garner, where I forget which one, because I lose track of them. They just seem like they blend one into the other. But that was when Black Lives Matter took off, and they had like a 90% approval rating across the country. And there was a window of opportunity where they could have utilized that 90% approval rate. And what did they do with it? They started taking down statues. They started going into old TV shows. So the very thing that they had rallied people around, which was police brutality, they went off the charts and then started talking about some other bullshit and then lost everybody. It went from 90% to like next to nothing.
But see, now let's be fair though. Let's be, well, I can't say let's be fair, because there was the cynical thinkers like myself who would initially point it out like, this is some bullshit. I'm just saying. And then those people, then the majority of people immediately shift to like, shut up, you hotep nigga. You don't know
Mm-hmm.
this Black Lives Matter stuff is for us and for us. And then when it comes out years down, when it comes down the pipes to being some BS, don't nobody say anything, and all it does is really just put a puncture in the morale of our people towards
Yep.
organizations. See, that's
Yep.
what it really does. So when the
Yep.
BAIO is there saying we don't even want nothing from you but to save your money to take a trip to the continent,
Yep.
nobody's around because when they hear organization, all they hear is either you want some religious stuff, you want some you're oppressive towards black women or gay stuff, or you just full of shit and want some money. And that's what it's doing. It's just perpetuated over and over again.
And also what it does is, and this is why, like, I have a problem with how they organize. They don't have a clear message. They don't have a clear message. Not only don't they have a clear message, but one of the key things about grassroots organizing is you have to have something that's feasible. Hey, it's feasible for you to get a plane ticket and head to the African continent. We're not expecting you to start a business or become a millionaire. We're not expecting that, but that's feasible. You can get up and go to the African continent. That's a feasible thing to do. It's not feasible to think you're going to abolish the police in America. That's not feasible. Like, y'all,
Yeah, it's
defund the
called being
police.
all over the place.
Defund the police is not even a popular slogan in America. But you still keep advocating for defund the police. Not even the majority of Black Americans supported defund the police like that. But yet we're still on this mindset that we're going to abolish police in the country. It's absolutely insane. People talk about they'll bring up Martin Luther King. And Martin Luther King is not my ideal. Like I said, he's not somebody I really look up to. But Martin Luther King was able to get the Voting Rights Act of 1965 and the Civil Rights Act of 1964 act passed because they didn't cost the American too much. We'll give you the right to vote. We'll say you can we'll desegregate schools. We'll desegregate, even though there was busing controversy afterwards. We'll do that because it doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't cost the federal government money to desegregate schools, to desegregate places. It doesn't cost the government money to have to give you the Voting Rights Act. It doesn't cost money. But it does
Reparations cost money.
Yeah, it costs money. Redistributing wealth costs money. And I think that's the thing that people have to be aware about.
Yeah, they took it where the initial thing for the Black Lives Matter movement was about police brutality, and they took it and they turned it into Aunt Jemima, old Golden Girls episodes, taking down statues. What the fuck did that have to do with what originally the whole thing was about?
Mm-hmm. And my thing is, okay, let's talk about police brutality. Okay, if we're gonna do police brutality, okay, what is gonna be the end game? What do you want? Okay,
right. That's
what do
another
you want?
problem. That's another problem. There was no, like you said, no clear vision, no clear understanding of what it is that they're trying to do. It's just this vague blackness.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is. It's vague, ambiguous blackness.
And then if we're gonna talk about Black Lives Matter, and then we're talking about all the other issues. I understand intersectionality is important. Intersectionality is important. But if that's the case, if this whole thing was about police brutality, and then we like you said, we change it from this to talking about issues within the community, then why do we need white folks out there? Why do we need white people to talk about black LGBT people? Like, we can have that conversation internally in the black community that's separate from Black Lives Matter. It doesn't need to be in the Black Lives Matter movement. And just the fact, like you said, it just derails everything. It's like, what? It's like with nationhood. We know our goal is to build a nation, and being in a nation means we got to address all issues. So we address all issues that pertain to nationhood.
Yeah, because there's even misconceptions within the nationalist community about what we're doing. Some people think, well, why don't we just go to another country and purchase some land? Really? So that's
we're
that's
so
how
we're
we're
gonna
going to establish socioeconomic and political over a piece of territories by going to a government and purchasing land from them.
There's a reason why we chose Liberia. There's a reason why we chose Liberia, and I'm still in the process of trying to get that together. I got some better progress. I got some good news coming out of there from yesterday. But we're gonna go to another country, purchase some land, and think we're gonna have our own government in their territory.
We're thinking very small, man. Very small. It's hard to have these conversations with people who have a small, one-dimensional mentality. It really is.
They don't understand, that the reason why we do what we do and will say what we say is because you have to think strategy. It's all about strategy. Same thing when you grassroots organize. Strategy, how you convey your message, which is why even for me, the way that I word things, I'm very careful with how I word things, because messaging matters, strategy matters. When you're talking about nationhood, and we said this over and over and over again, but for those who are new and those who will probably come across this in the future, nationhood, you can't build a nation inside somebody else's country and think they're gonna let you come up in there. Like, so we supposed to pull up in another African country, say we're gonna buy some land and we're gonna declare independence from that country, and don't think they're gonna send their army in to squash that from happening. It's absurd. It's insane. Like, y'all got to think logically. I understand we want to think ideally, which is great that we got Black folks thinking in the manner of independence, but now we got to think realistic. Hey, you're not going to have a Black nation in America. What? You ain't going to have a Black nation in America. So can we just like destroy that?
I think it could be rooted in the way people perceive themselves also. There's this whole, am I Black or am I African? And, it's split. Some people don't perceive themselves as of African origin. And some people identify themselves with Black.
And you know what is serious, so crazy about that? They don't even read the census. You mark Black on the census and they tell you what a Black person is defined as. A Black person is defined as somebody from sub-Saharan Africa who has sub-Saharan African ancestry. But you ain't African. But literally the federal government census says you are Black.
Exactly. It's their labels. It's not the way we never identified ourselves to begin with. Those are their constructs, their labels. And that's another thing that needs to, be identified for people to conceive this platform properly, is that it's not defined by white people. It's not defined by anybody outside of our community. It's us defining ourselves. This is a self-determination movement.
Chima says the problem is that most Black folks in the country don't demand anything when it comes to political or economic power. All we want is for other people to know that we're here.
Oh my, that is true.
And Michael McGarry says purchasing land only checks one box.
I say no boxes. I mean, I say purchasing land does great in terms of in it being in Liberia, but I mean,
I think there's a misunderstanding of what people view nationhood as. It's not going to another country in Africa and purchasing land as an African American, because really all you're doing is you getting land in another country.
That's really what it is.
That's what it is.
Why did you guys choose Liberia? They just had a civil war 20 years ago. Right, 20 years ago. It's not recent, it's 20 years ago. And one of the highest heart rates on the continent because of the civil war. Black Americans would be foolish to try Liberia 2.0.
Why did we go to Rwanda when just 20-something years ago they had a genocide?
Thank you. Like, it's absurd. Like, it's absurd way, and I understand that's programming right there. That like what you said is Siri before, programming, social engine, the way that instantly comes out of people, and you don't even think about it. Think about what you're saying, Black meaning African. You didn't even have to think about, okay, do I really know the full history of Liberia? Do I know the full context. You just went straight into it'd be fools to try Liberia 2.0, not
Yo,
understanding the nuances.
Jabbar,
Just
you know where I'm gonna go with this, right? But I gotta say it anyway. Everybody in the
yes,
chat room already knows what I'm gonna say, but I'll say it
yeah.
anyway, because maybe Black meaning African, this is his first time here. How come you still a New England Patriots fan?
I knew it.
They didn't win the Super Bowl. So wouldn't it be foolish to try to be a New England Patriots fan right now? I'll just leave you with that to chew on. I mean, God, do you not realize that this, like, and what kills me is these guys think that they're being black by saying this.
It's really, it's
It's
embarrassing.
it's the language of a loser.
Like, it's embarrassing. Like, when I hear this, like, I hear this stuff over and over again. It's embarrassing. That's the reason why we've been on a journey for the last 2 to 3 years correcting the narrative on Liberia, because it's embarrassing the way that people just instantly comes out. It's like they don't even think, okay, well, is what I've heard about Liberia necessarily true? Let me actually do some substantial research. It's like, nope, let's just do this. Why y'all want to go to Liberia? The country that was founded for us. Oh, but there was a civil war that happened 20 years ago. It ended 20 years ago. Keyword, it ended. There ain't fighting going on. People ain't getting shot, and ain't none of that happening.
One of the
Ridiculous,
highest
man.
rates of poverty on the continent. So is that just like natural? Like that's something that can't be changed?
And then you say one of the highest poverty rates in Africa. That's funny, because the only difference between Liberia and a lot of other countries, and you really can't even say that, because in terms of economic development, Liberia is on the exact same level as many other African nations. Like, Liberia and the Gambia have the same human development index, but y'all still flood the Gambia. Tanzania and Liberia literally almost have the exact same human development index, but y'all flood Tanzania though. Y'all be quick to flood the Gambia. Y'all be quick to flood Sierra Leone, despite the fact that Sierra Leone has a lower human development index than Liberia does. But when we talk about Liberia, like I said, the social programming, everybody instantly bash.
Oh, here we go.
You're missing.
So now this is an attack. A response and a retort is attack now.
You're missing the point. I understand you're saying there are other better options if we wanted to purchase land, but Black meaning African, we've had actual Liberian historians on here. We actually have actual Liberians who have connections with significant leadership in Liberia, part of our organization. We know what we're talking about. You can go look it up. We have BAIO interviews specifically dealing with Liberia. You can go watch those videos.
Yep. It's all in the archives. And nobody's being offended by your question.
Right.
We're responding to it. Why are you getting offended by our response?
And the
it's
reality,
like this.
And the reason why I say that is because it's the fact that people don't understand the reason why we're saying this, because if we believe African Americans should have their own nation, I'm going to break it down for Black meaning African. If African Americans want to have a home for themselves, why not go to the country that was literally created by us, for us? I don't care if there was a civil war. If a civil war happened in Rwanda, a genocide happened in Rwanda with the two ethnic groups, does that mean that the group that was genocided said, man, Rwanda ain't our homeland anymore? See, we just had a whole genocide. So we just not gonna return to Rwanda anymore. We're just done. We're not Rwandans anymore.
Yeah. Why did we go to Rwanda and be amongst the people, and we were safe? Nobody was attacked. Nobody got killed with machetes. But that happened, 20 something years ago. Things change. Just like your football team didn't win this year, they might win next year. This is real simple shit.
Yeah, things change. All of a sudden, a black man can be murdered on TV for the whole wide world to watch. Things change.
This right here, he says again, Croatia and the rest of Yugoslavia had a war The rest of Yugoslavia had a war with the same time that Liberia did, but no one ever points that out. Black folks still travel to Croatia in order to see the Adriatic.
Yep. If
Point
you want to
exactly.
listen, if you don't want to do something, you will find a myriad of ways not to. It's that simple.
And that's where the whole not engaging with people with all these arguments and excuses why it's going to be so hard and nearly impossible to do it. I don't want to talk to them people like ever.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating because it's like what even Liberians that I've talking to constantly spread the frustration that propaganda narrative has become so ingrained, it's on autopilot. That's why I said what I said, because I'm like, they're gonna say the same thing over. It's on autopilot. It's like you don't even have to think about it. It's on autopilot. And that's the thing that irks me. And like Michael McGarry said, there's no or will ever be a better option than Liberia as a base of operations. Period. There's no other better option. And that's why for us, when people come and they like bash Liberia and all this stuff, we have the responses that we have because we've been studying this for years.
What's the better option is what I want to know.
Exactly.
What's the better option? Rwanda is also a bad idea for what?
What is that?
What is it a bad idea for? Like, nobody's trying to make Rwanda our nation state. So I don't get a bad idea for what? To visit?
What is always hilarious to me is that the very things that people be mentioning is the exact same thing that they are okay with in the United States of America. And you are okay with it, have no intention to leave. But when we say, even if that is the case, like even if it's literally like America is, I promise you, I would like America a whole lot better if it was all black. I promise
Okay.
you I would.
Speaking. Okay, let's ask Black meaning African this question. Then which country you suggest we go to? Okay, so you said Namibia and Zimbabwe. So we're gonna build a nation in Namibia. We've actually had folks actually been to Namibia, Black meaning Africa. We've actually had folks been to Namibia for over a month. And I'm pretty sure the vast majority of them would say, we want y'all to come here, but ain't no way we establishing a nation.
And who wants to? Like, I haven't heard any BAIO member say they want to establish a nation state in Namibia.
And also, what land are they going to give us? Because most of Namibia is desert. It's a huge country, but most of it's desert. Like the Kalahari Desert is there. So we're going to build a nation in the middle of a desert because all the good land is taken. So we're going to build a nation in a desert.
Namibia and Zimbabwe is better for what exactly? That's what I'm trying to get. Like a better option for what? For a base of operations? Yeah. Or a better option in terms of purchasing land? Because those are not the same thing.
Yeah, I'm about to say I would stay in Zimbabwe for, like you said, establish a satellite community. That would be somewhere where it would be my secondary option. But Namibia and Zimbabwe not going to be headquarters. No. Because the thing that Zimbabweans are going to ask, why Zimbabwe? Why Namibia? Right. Why not Mozambique? Why not South Africa? Why not Angola? They're going to ask that question. Why here?
And can you blame them? That's their nation. I don't. Well,
it's the fun. Like it's like what I said. Practicality. I understand the idealism, but we got to think practical. Okay, practically speaking, if you go to any other nation outside of Liberia, the very first thing that they're gonna ask is, okay, why our country? Like he said, Botswana. Botswana ain't gonna give you land either. Zimbabwe is a landlocked country, so we're gonna build a nation that's landlocked.
Maybe they don't understand. Liberia is chosen simply for the fact that the welcome mat is already built in. There are programs set forth for African Americans in particular because of the history of African American involvement. It was set out for African Americans. So maybe they don't understand and need to see that in writing somewhere on the website so they understand why Liberia is a focus for building the nation.
And that is a very generous interpretation. I
Yeah.
applaud you. It's very mature.
because it's like, wow, it's like we've said this on our channel. Liberia is literally having a whole bicentennial this year to celebrate the arrival of African Americans. Literally.
Because this is what I do. When I don't understand something, I ask questions.
Right.
I don't make statements.
Yeah, say why Liberia? Why is Liberia significant to nation building? Why is Liberia significant for African Americans? Why should African Americans invest in Liberia? What are the misnomers? And we would gladly explain that. But when the first response is, oh, African Americans are going to cause the division the way that they do Liberia, and you haven't done significant research, that's when it becomes a problem, because we've said this over and over again. Passionate ignorance.
Passionate ignorance. One of my pet peeves were people who are passionately ignorant. They don't know what they're talking about, but yet they got a strong opinion.
You said,
"Oh, here we go. Here we go." You can set your watch to it. I'm gonna let you handle that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let me answer this question, because this is what I mean. Like, they don't know what they're talking about. I've studied Liberian history, so I'm gonna check you. I said black meaning African. You can go onto our archives and watch our videos. Period. Either you haven't been watching our videos, or this is your first time. If this is your first time, then let us explain. If not, we're going to block you. We're not going to deal with this foolishness. Let me address that point. We chose Liberia because Liberia was founded by African Americans with the help of the indigenous population. And by the way, white people did not create Liberia. White people assisted us. The Back to Africa movement was going before white people even showed up. Look up Paul Cuffey. But see, you don't know that. You don't know Paul Cuffey. You don't know Prince Hall. You don't know Thomas Peters. You don't know none of them. But yet you talking about a country you don't know about. You can go look this up on Princeton University. The founder of the American Colonization Society, Robert Finley, spoke to Paul Cuffey. This is what we mean. People who say stuff and they don't know. And then you said help bourgeois Negroes. That's how I know you don't know nothing about Liberia, because the vast majority of African Americans who went to Liberia were middle to lower class and were from the South. But you talking and you don't know anything. Garvey did the Liberian movement, as our great sister Vanessa Johnson said. Henry McNeil Turner, Maya Angelou. But you keep talking, and this is the problem. I have patience with people. I do. But I do not deal with disingenuous arguments. Or if I'm dealing with somebody who's disingenuous, I know how to respond.
Yo, is emoji still on? Is emoji still in the thing?
He's on mute.
Oh, yeah.
I'm still here, big bro. What's up?
Yo, this just validates our point, doesn't it?
Exactly.
We don't even have to say nothing. We ain't got to say a word.
And I'm not. Having a great
this is why it is a waste of time.
Like you said, leave.
No, but hang on. It's I understand it does validate the point, but it also shows a big gaping hole where black people don't understand that this is their birthright. That's a whole nother realm. And maybe it needs to be countered that way, that this is your birthright. You have a right to be here in Liberia.
Sis saying that it can be used as an opportunity to teach. That's what you're saying, huh, sis?
Yeah.
But the problem is, see, this is I love you guys, because you guys take the high road, and I appreciate that. You're so mature. I wish I was. These are not honest. These are not
Please don't give me that
honest
much credit.
players. I can have that because what you're saying is 100% true if you're dealing with honest players. These
Yeah, like
people
I
are
said,
not honest players.
Right, genuine people. I draw the line with disingenuous people. That's when the hollop, I would say the hollop of me comes out. When it's disingenuous people. When it's genuine people, I got patience. But when you are passionately ignorant and making disingenuous comments, then that's when all the gloves are off.
Yeah, this guy is not. He's not asking questions. He's making statements saying that this is what it is, based in total ignorance, just pulling the shit out of his ass. So how can I have a conversation with you to try to enlighten you when already you're just spitting off falsehoods to me as if they're facts? That's not the behavior of a genuine person. A genuine person who's curious, because I've been curious before. I've been in settings where I didn't know what was going on. And guess what I did? I either shut up and listened, or I asked questions to try to elicit information so that I can understand better. There's a certain spirit that you come in when you do that.
And then also you would say this. Also, you would ask that person, what resources can you give me so that I can further expand my understanding?
Right. But what you do when you talk about disingenuous, what they do is they come in with a straw man. Then when you beat the straw man down, then they attack you for being in it. Oh, you're attacking me because come on, man. These are not honest players. They're really not honest players. We've had people come in and we've had discussions that last for hours with people that we don't agree with. Just tactically.
We had one a couple months ago. And I gotta leave for a second. I'll be on mute.
I think he must be talking about Baruti. I think we was having some discussion with Baruti about it, but it was a civil discussion. It wasn't contentious.
Right, but when you having conversations on social media, you know, long time ago, it like triggered and initiated a trolling phenomenon to where people just turn into gangsters on the keyboard. People will cuss you out, say, let's fight, pull up, you know. So when it comes down to it, it's just easier to be arguing with people. And some people want to argue instead of, like, my thing is, if we are on here for nationhood, then every discussion, argument, debate should be on how we're doing that and how we're going to do it the best way, the most effective way possible. You know what I mean? If somebody's here and most of the content and most of the comments that they're inputting is like just negative, like, no, we can't do this, or no, this is this, why this, no, this, it's like, well, what you really doing? You know what I'm saying? What if either your spirit is messed up or you trolling intentionally? Either way, it's kind of not helpful. It's kind of not helpful if that's what you're here for. Let you just feel like getting beat up. Like, that's, I guess that could be it too. So yeah, social media is a hell of a drug. It really is.
Yeah, because there's probably maybe there's somebody in the chat room or somebody who's listening to this who's never heard about the BAIO, doesn't really know about Liberia, doesn't know about the whole concept of land infrastructure nationhood. Then what Assyria is saying and what Jabari is saying is 100% true. It's like there's a way that you have to present the information to them. But that person usually comes in a different spirit than the person that we're talking about right now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you can just tell by the way that they present themselves. They come in and like, oh wow, this is interesting. What about this? What they're very inquisitive, and it's more in the terms of questions than it is in statements. The people that come in with statements, like he made a statement that, oh, that's for bourgeois niggas. What? So that's not the type of thing that elicits any type of understanding. That's an argument. You're taking a position. And your position is wrong. Your position you pulled out of your ass. Your position is based on nothing but ignorance. And I'm supposed to have a serious discussion with you and try to enlighten you on anything? No, it's not going to happen. And I've been in this game for a while. I know disingenuous people. It's a way that they move. Because you look at the people that's in the BAIO right now, everybody at some point didn't know what this was about. And what did they do? They listened to the live streams, they reached out to the people, and they said, you know what, this sounds like something I'd be down with. Boom, subscribed. It didn't take a whole lot. It didn't take a fucking 2-hour PowerPoint presentation. That's because they were genuine. These people that we dealing with, these guys online, they're not genuine. They come into our forums to fight with us, to throw a turd in the punch bowl, to try to keep people from listening to the message that we're sending out, or to try to poke holes in what they figure is our argument. I know these people. I've seen them 1,000 times. I've dealt with them all of my life. That's why I can identify them so quickly. Hey, Vanessa. Vanessa, you still haven't gotten into the signal? Because I'm actually communicating with your signal, but I don't see you responding. So you have an account on there. I think you better try it again.
Yeah, we really want to. We really need you in here. What else? Nation Nieko, there's a lot of books, so a couple ones I would say.
We gotta get Nationhood Nico in the signal chat too.
Yep.
Nationhood, what's your username on the website? Type it in and I'll hit you up.
That's one book by C. Patrick Burroughs. There's 3 books from C. Patrick Burroughs I definitely suggest you read. He does a great job in debunking that. Another book I would read is, or a dissertation you could read, is For Land and Liberty. So this is another one, Liberia and the Quest for Freedom, That's Never Been Told, by C. Patrick Burroughs as well. Half That Has Never Been Told, by C. Patrick Burroughs. You got From Virginia Slave to African Statesman, also by C. Patrick Burroughs. I also would read Set the World on Fire, Keisha and Blaine, Black Nationalist Women. Also What He Said Between the Cola Forest and the Salty Sea, by C. Patrick Burroughs. He does a lot of good work. So also Keisha and Blaine. Set the World on Fire, Black Nationalist Women. And another you could read, I would read The Golden Age of Black Nationalism. It's something you can also read. If you want to, now that's just know basics about Liberia. If you want to know like actual like events, I have plenty of archives, like about 100. So yeah, these are just to get you started.
And if you're not a reader, you can always go to the BAIO YouTube channel and check out the archives,
the interviews,
and the videos.
Yep. The interviews. And if you have a TikTok, I do videos on there as well. If you're not a huge avid reader. Yes, I know what book you're talking about. The book, 2 Centuries of Military Operations in Liberia. Let me put that in there. 2 Centuries of Military Operations in Liberia. It's by Han Neil. Yep. That book was eye-opening. The whole Civil War was literally led by the United States government. The whole regime change was done by. Yep. And the U.S. once ruled the country directly during the Civil War. So,
what a shocker.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're mad that the most successful Black nation was destroyed by the U.S. Of course, the U.S. would do something like that. But that also says this love affair for America has got to go.
Yeah, it's toxic.
And we're crying for reparations when we have an actual nation state that we can get reparations for. If that's what your position is, why in the hell would you not be for Liberia?
Mm-hmm.
It makes no sense.
We better make a decision before automation makes the decision for us. That's really a serious component. Going back to the earlier points that were raised about AI and machine learning and all that stuff, you're going to be made redundant soon.
Mhm.
Now, if that doesn't hit you first before any of all these other lofty messages, you need to wake up and have a backup plan to get the F out of here.
And there's been plenty of people who have had this conversation that society is going to have to, like, the world is going to have to make a decision about how they want to conduct business.
Yep. Because
eventually it's going to happen.
And also, we ain't got to ask. We haven't talked about this question. What happens when robots become more human-like? Meaning, you can't distinguish between a person and a robot. They're practically the same person. Like we're one indie. Like where a robot could pass himself off as being a human being. Where you literally, when you look at them face to face, you don't know if that's really a human or not. What do you do then?
I remember when I had this conversation with a social studies teacher when I was in high school. And I asked the question and I never got an answer. I said, if the goal of technology is to make things more efficient, then the ultimate
work.
Yeah, like the ultimate end game of that is two machines communicating with each other. So what's going to happen to the workers? I asked this when I was in high school.
Yep.
So that's going to be a reality that people go like. Look at Star Trek. Star Trek said, "Well, fuck money." That's what's the Star Trek. If anybody was a fan of that series, they didn't have any money in Star Trek. You wanted to get something to eat. You went to the fucking thing and created it. Yeah, I want a burger. Just go get a burger. There was no coins anybody was putting into any machine. One of the dumbest things, it's like we do stuff that's so backwards. Like one of the things I can't understand is like the whole transit system. Where you get a little card, swipe it through a machine so you can get on a bus. It just doesn't make sense to me. If you take out the currency model out of that, what's the difference? It's just motherfuckers getting on the bus. And most of the time in New York, they get on the bus without paying anyway. So they're gonna have to have some serious discussions about what's gonna happen. Because first of all, the service industry is like the last bastion for jobs. If you notice. I mean, they're replacing workers on the roads. So like, you can build highways faster with technology. All the automated is taking over like the manual labor jobs. The only thing left is the service industry where you can talk to people. And that's going to be gone soon.
Yeah,
It's only a matter of time.
Automated cashiers already.
Right.
We haven't talked about this. Artificial general intelligence and super intelligence. They're two different things. What happens when artificial intelligence surpasses human mind? Are we gonna merge with it? Like, because if you don't, we could possibly, bad things could happen. Like, this is what we're thinking about. Listen, they said artificial intelligence will be reached in our lifetimes. Okay, in our lifetimes by the 2040s, it will be there. This is not like a game. This is actual reality.
But we're living it, is what I'm saying. We're already living it. It's progressing already on this continent in the West. So we have the chance to go to a place that, people may be disconnected from, but this is where we need to build their connection and let them know it's their birthright. It's not just a place for vacation. This is your birthright. That's a very stronger message.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Because they're already predicting that surgeons will be replaced by AI. Surgeons, think about it.
That's already happening.
There you go.
That's already happening. Like I was just recently, somebody had said that they had just got a surgery where the doctor was using, the robots to do the surgery.
There you go.
So it's just a matter of time.
And there's nothing wrong with this. I'm 100% for this. You
Right.
just have to prepare for it.
Right. You're not stopping technology. Technology is not stopping. Automation, AI is not stopping. So the question is, what are you going to do? How are you going to arrange your society in a way that people can have a quality of life?
And
if you're going to eliminate 90% of the workforce, how are people going? What are you going to do?
We got to define, what does it mean to be human? Because robots are eventually going to start having emotions. They're going to start having a mind of their own. So what does it mean to be human now?
That's one of the things that I don't understand. It's like, why are they making humanoid versions of robots? I don't understand that.
Because eventually, Ronan's on. I think. Ronan's on. I did not know.
Oh yes.
Yeah, because he had his thing. He's in this thing. I think he's getting his thing ready. You there, Ronan?
Hello.
There he is.
Hey.
Yo, you hear me?
Yep.
We hear you loud and clear.
Hey, what's up, Holla? What's up, everybody?
What's up?
Hey, Ronan.
Bass here. Moja, Jabari.
So what's your take on this AI thing?
Yeah, first, let me just say one thing. I jumped on for one reason. I just want to apologize for Vanessa. I deleted one of her messages by accident, her comments by accident. So I wanted
to. Yeah, I forgot you yielded the gauntlet.
Yeah, I did that by accident. I was actually trying to type something and I ended up deleting it by accident. So I just wanted to send that out to her. Let her, that was my bad.
Mm-hmm.
But with the AI thing, yeah, I don't think people really realize that. I don't think they're looking at technology in that format. I think they look, everything is, people are stuck on money and clout and stuff like that. They're not looking at the bigger picture. Moja says all the time, we all say that we are on borrowed time here. The empire is crumbling. And we have to go in a different direction if we want to survive in the 21st century and beyond that. While we're here, our children and stuff like that. We've been here 496 years in this country and basically punching a tungsten steel wall and you're not making any dents. And something else has to be done. You can't, you got people on these radio airways on the 24th, they're sitting here throwing bouquets at Joe Biden's feet or the Democratic Party, or they're supporting what's going on with supporting Ukraine and handing out flags, all the nonsense, and people still getting killed in the streets. And people who got smoked for Liberia, come on. That's your birthright. America's not your birthright. How's that gonna be your birthright? What, you gonna hop over to Native Americans? They got more of a claim to this place than we do.
Thank you.
And if that is the case, and this is for the trolls and the trolls out there in the chat, you look at it from this stand. So you're gonna sit here and have honest discussions with the descendants of individuals who took a group of people and turned them into an endangered species on their land. Made treaties with them, broke those treaties. You actually think they're going to give you something? You cannot be that naive and stupid in the 21st century.
Exactly.
That's just my take.
No, you're right, because that's a luxury. We cannot be naive. That's a luxury. And it's so interesting how history is. Africa was once thought of the place where, because these people didn't do anything, we're going to subjugate them. And now look at the West. The West is crumbling because they did so much that they're sabotaging their own humanness. And now Africa's being viewed as the jewel, the place full of all resources. And that's why we need to go over there and defend it.
Right. How are you going to defend it if you don't even feel it's yours?
How are you going to defend it when we was talking about this last night, Hollow? You know how I get down. You know how I feel. You can't defend something if you don't know how to fight.
Right.
Wait, there's also something I would add. How can you defend something that you don't own? What
As well.
you gonna defend a like you don't even own it, so how you gonna defend something you don't own?
And here's another thing that the people like. This goes in line with what Ronan is saying, and this is stuff. This is an uncomfortable conversation that we're going to have at some point. There's a basic philosophy for peace and a basic philosophy for war. And me and Assyria have talked about this, like why the European has been able to dominate across the globe is because just think about it. A peaceful person doesn't fuck with people.
Mm-hmm.
The philosophy of a peaceful person is, I want to leave you alone, just leave me alone, and then we can all be at peace. A warlike person is not about leaving you alone. They're about fucking with you. So if that's the context that we existed in, that peaceful person has to make a decision.
Yep.
How bad do you want your peace? Because if you really want your peace bad, then you got to get rid of the peace breaker.
Holla,
There was uncomfortable.
you're talking madness.
Yeah, I know. We don't want to have that conversation
There
yet.
was an uncomfortable. I remember.
madness.
I remember this. I remember watching something on France 24. It was talking about this phrase. He said, it was on France 24, and it was talking about what's going. It was this was long before the war in Ukraine and all that stuff, right? It was a situation in Russia, right? And they were talking about basically young Russians growing up under Vladimir Putin, right? And one of them who was for Russia, supported Vladimir Putin, he said, if you want to wage peace, be ready to wage war. And that kind of hit. He was like, if you want to wage peace, if you want peace, you have to be ready to wage war.
That's the reality. And a lot of peaceful people don't want to deal with that, but it's the truth.
Well, the reality of it is just you can't make people give a fuck. First of all,
right?
Because it's just a whole lot of give a fuck for what we're talking about, and we can't force that upon people. And we could go over Big Bro Road and say we've been here 496 years. If that don't make you to even start thinking about caring about something, something's wrong. And then you could talk about all the struggles here in America. And then you could talk about all the struggles even on the continent. And I ain't talking about like old. I'm talking about in 2022. The struggles of America and Africa right now is terrible. And if that don't make us want to give a fuck, then what will? That's my question. See, I don't got the answer. When I'm saying this, I'm just talking about what I've observed. What I'm observing is that a lot of people seem to not care. Are they scared? Are they just completely numb to it so they could live their life as happy as they could? And that's okay. All of that is okay. But I want to talk to the people. Where are the people who give a fuck? Where they at?
Right.
So we can make this happen. Because we
Those
can.
are the only ones that count.
If us few people could sit up here and plan Africa trips and all this other stuff, and we linking all across America from east to west, with just a few of us, can't tell me that it doesn't work. And we can't get together and do this. Straight up.
Yeah.
With the little nickels and dimes that we got and everything else, we can do it. I know it.
This is false optimism, man. Like black folks, if like, yeah, like I tell people, like there's different books. Like people should read books about profiling, man. Like black folks do not understand how white people think, here or abroad. And like what Howard was saying about war, Europeans do the things that they do because they feel that that's their birthright. They feel that they can go and push to do whatever they want all over the globe and don't worry about the consequences of actions. Don't care about how many people die in these conflicts. This is not, as long as they get what they want. But black folks don't believe that you have a country that you helped establish in 1822. That's not your birthright. That is insanity. I don't understand that. And the other thing is that you have these people. They keep pushing these narratives. Like again, the vote. This, that. You can, and I said this before. I was writing this even as you guys are talking. You could have these black folks. You could put. I said this before. You could put Michael Myers on the ticket right now, and black folks will find some way. Those who are cheerleaders or servants or court jesters for these political parties or whatever, and find something redeeming about. Well, before he started stabbing people with a butcher knife, He was a lovely child, but he's a unrepentant murderer. But you can find something about that. But put him up against the other boogeyman, and then this here or there, and they're
Yeah.
creating these fear tactics that faces you, forcing you like, well, if you don't do this, they're gonna come in, they're gonna do this, and stuff like that. When you're already living underneath this dynamic,
Yeah.
there's
Who we
no
gonna vote for,
yeah,
Jason or Michael?
the lesser of two evils. So pick your pick, Lucifer or Mephisto. Doesn't make a difference which one it is. It's the same thing. Evil is evil. Doesn't matter. Level 5 evil is no different than level 10. It's just about how the deal is written, the fine print. Either way, you still giving up your soul. So if these and this is something. And one of the things I look at what we do here is that if someone could look at it and say, oh, y'all guys, y'all throwing dirt on black folks and stuff like, no, we're giving an honest critique because no one else is critiquing them. And it needs to be critiqued. If they can sit here and critique us talking about something that makes sense about having a nation state, then they should be critiqued about them sitting here taking 30 pieces of silver from individuals who use them to use the masses so they can maintain power. And they have their little base, their little base. Just like, with Black Lives Matter. They went out, did all this stuff, took that money, and they're living it up, buying houses, doing that and stuff like that, while black folks still getting their brains beat in by the cops or getting mistreated on every day.
Yep.
It has to stop.
Buying $1 million houses.
Vanessa's on the roll.
$6 million houses. $6
Yep.
million houses.
Yeah, I have to co-sign that, Baruti. That was excellent for your point. It's so 100% correct.
Black people need to be in constant preparation to acquire advanced skills and technologies to keep pace with new job opportunities and entrepreneurial applications. Yeah, Black people need to have their own nation.
Exactly.
Because when you have your own nation, you have governments, and then you can have people to fill those positions. Right now, if we have a kid who's a fucking chess genius at 10 years old, what position in our government do we have that can groom that kid to work for us? Doesn't exist. What that kid is going to do is go over to America and make a fortune, making money for white people. We produce the talent and then hand it over to somebody else so they can make money with it.
Mm-hmm.
We produce the Michael Jordans. We produce the Michael Jacksons. We produce the Kobe Bryants. We produce the LeBron James. We produce all of these people, the Floyd Mayweather. They come from our culture, but we don't benefit from them. What other nation is doing that? We produce the Will Smiths. What other nation is doing that? We produce so much for other people. That's why I have that quote. If you ever want to wonder why I have that quote at the beginning of all my videos from Amos Wilson, because that was the part when I got my aha moment. Because it made me go, oh, shit. Now I get it. You think you're free. You think you're making your own decisions. You think you're doing the right thing. How come every fucking thing that you do does not benefit you and benefit somebody else? That has to make you think if you're an intelligent person. If that just flies past you, then you're hopeless. But Ronan is right, man. It's like
and that should motivate you. That's the thing. I don't understand how this doesn't motivate you. Like, learning about Liberian history motivated me to do better in school. It motivated me to want to get a master's degree or to pursue one. It motivated me. Like, it should motivate you.
Unfortunately, people become complacent with our Western way of living. We can get into a rut and come home and we get into, let me turn on TV, turn on net. We have all kinds of distractions.
Cog in the wheel.
Right. And we never challenge it. And it's not until we're knocked on our ass or our asses exposed in some way or we feel at risk, that we jump. So we're trying to wake people up before they get to that point.
And conversation like these aren't being spread out to the masses.
Exactly.
Yeah, the algorithm won't do it.
Yeah, the conversation that the masses are hearing is the intellectual musings of Wendy Williams and Steve Harvey.
Oh, Jesus, yeah.
Oh yeah.
So is it any wonder? I remember my brother before this was before he had passed, like years ago, we were going down to North Carolina, and Steve Harvey was talking on the radio, and my brother's not even like, he's pro-black. I'll put it that way. He was pro-black. He may not have been into necessarily what we're into per se, but he was friendly toward that message. And he's listening to him. Steve Harvey was saying they were talking about the Trayvon Martin situation where the father, like he was killed for the iced tea or whatever. And Steve Harvey was saying, we need to be better fathers to our children.
Oh God.
And my brother looked at me like, what? What did he just say? He said, what the fuck does him being a better father having to do with this guy killing him in the streets? Even my brother was able to detect that without me even saying anything. These are the people that we're listening to. These are the people that dominate the airwaves.
Yeah.
So is it any wonder? That's why I'm telling you, I have a lot of sympathy toward the average black person.
Yeah, that's what, and I'm glad that you brought that up, the average black person. That's what we always keep saying. We don't have a problem, or we're willing to work with the average black person because the average black person doesn't have access to this information, or they haven't been able to have this train of thought.
Right. And I consider myself an average black person because it's not like I'm
Rich
went to some university level, some Ivy League school. Most of the stuff that I learned was just me being, proactive and learning it on my own.
Mm-hmm.
So coming to these conclusions, I consider myself a regular, average, working class person. I don't think that I'm brilliant in any way. So if I can come to these conclusions with limited education, what's the problem with the people that have the education?
It's the same thing. It's the same thing. They have the education, but even I can tell you this, Holla, even at black institutions, not a lot of black students have access to strong black history. It's very minute, it's very vague, it's very general. It's not strong, hardcore black history. And so you're put in a situation where even educated black people who may have skills in mathematics or computer science, they don't have access to the kind of history of Liberia and black nationalist thought as I do. So what that creates is a situation where, well, what they're being taught in the mainstream media is what they know. Because one of the things that we make a horrible I think mistake is we think people who are educated means that they're smart or they're out thinking outside the box. That's what we think of somebody who's college educated or who's what we consider a professional. We don't consider professionals can be just as exposed to crazy ideas and are not equipped for the history and politics. Because I've talked to numerous people who were scientists, who are engineers, who are and they don't know this information. They don't know what I'm talking about. This is new information for them. They're just good at what they do.
Yep.
I think, Jabbar, you may be onto something with the grassroots thing because that's probably going to connect the dots a lot easier because social media right now can be so daunting based on how the algorithm's been so refined. And maybe it needs that grassroots organization, to connect the dots and to build the communities.
Yeah, it's gonna take us forming separate chat groups with other people. It's gonna take us having to go, like I said, or something that I want to consider going door to door, actually speaking to people, actually talking to people, reaching out to them, having conversations, phone calling, emailing. It's good. It's gonna take us actually speaking to the average everyday person on the street than just social media. Because social media is great to listen to what you're saying on social media, but we know it's for real when we start seeing people on the ground doing it. When we start seeing people with BIO shirts speaking with the average everyday person, and they're planning Zoom meetings, they're planning, hosting events. That's when we're really starting to hit the ball rolling.
You know what? Did I tell you what happened to me at my job?
Nope.
I got a phone call, and at the end of the call, the lady asked me. She said, "Are you FBA?"
Really?
Yes.
Grassroots right there. Example of grassroots.
When I hear somebody ask me that on my job and say, "Am I BAIO?" then I know we are making some moves.
Exactly. It's got to be that way. We got to ask, like, we got to be on the ground. Like, it's got to be everyday conversations, and we got to spread the message. And most of all, we got to take down and that's one of the things I do. I take down narratives. I stitch a video and I take it down, because we got to be fearless, and nothing's gonna stop us. And I know we can do it, but we got to be out on the streets. We got to be out on the streets. We got to go door to door. We got to have conversations with people in the Atlanta area, or wherever you are in Charlotte, in Columbia. You got to have a door to door campaign. Have brochures, which is why I'm trying to create the brochure. Have a manifesto. People need to have actual things they can touch. Like, hey, yo, my name is Jabbar. I'm part of the BIO. Here's our manifesto. Here's our brochure. Here's what we about. Here's ways you can contact us. Here's how you can get involved. Here's some suggestions. You have a good day. Here's how you sign up. We can help you sign up. You have a good day.
Yep.
I agree. Because you're fighting a two-pronged attack. You got one side, you got FBA and ADOS. Other side, you got woke bot nonsense. And we're caught in the middle of that. Because like the discussions, like I did an interview, I think last summer, with a guy who I'm friends with, and he has like a nonprofit. And we really get into the meat of it, but we had more vigorous discussions in between the videotaping or whatever. And the one thing he's trying to ask is that he's like, well, how did you get to this point? I'm like, are you paying attention what's going on around you? And he falls more into the woke bot category. Oh, we got to vote, blah blah, so and so, Obama, Kamala Harris, blah, so stuff like that. And I'm like, you gotta look at it from this perspective, man. I was like, and I take the same stance as Hollett, man. I'm just some retired wide receiver, man. 9 concussions, and I can see this. And I told him, man, I was like, you gotta look from the standpoint, man. I was like, think about power, man. We live in a country where the people who are calling the shots, they have enough power. They gave you your black president. They gave you your black vice president. They gave you 2 black attorney generals. They gave you the Civil Rights Bill. They gave you the Voting Rights Act. And yet you still begging for more crumbs. That tells me you don't have power.
And
Yeah, they gave you a vice president, and they gave you a Supreme Court justice.
Another question I would ask them was, what has the Congressional Black Caucus done for the Black community? Ask them, just name me 1 or 2 policies that the Congressional Black Caucus has implemented, advocated for, that has resulted in the increase of of wealth, income, and healthcare for Black residents. If they can't tell you, then we can say, okay, well, did you know that the Congressional Black Caucus was the same one that signed a bill that allowed for drug companies to overprice medicine? Did you know that the same Congressional Black Caucus that says they're for healthcare is getting money from Big Pharma? So do these congressional Black people that you're voting for really represent you? If you believe that in the universal health care and all this stuff, but yet the people that you voted in are not for what you say, are they really yours? Do they really represent you?
See, and they don't see it from that point, Jabbar. Like I was explaining to them, I was like, these people are automatons, man. They just roll them out. It's like a assembly
Yeah,
line of these
symbolism. Yeah,
individuals,
it's a
the
symbol. It's a symbol.
same individuals, no matter be they black, white, it's the same thing. And what they do, what black folks do, and I told him, I was like, you look at he said, oh, about Maxine Ward, this is something like these people, they use King and Malcolm X because they're martyrs. They didn't love Malcolm X when he was alive. They didn't love King when he was alive. They
Yeah. They
became
don't
convenient.
even quote Malcolm like that. They don't even
No,
quote
they don't.
Malcolm like
No, they don't. Malcolm was
they.
the boogeyman.
Oh
Come
yeah.
on. But they use King. They didn't even support him, and he's their patron saint. So, and he's going to me. He was like, "Well, you got." I was like, you do. You talking about Kamala Harris? I was like, did you support her during her primary? He was like, no. Who'd you support? Well, I supported Julian Castro. I was like, and there it is. You didn't even have enough faith. See, you're championing her, but you didn't have enough faith to support her during her primary. I was like, you didn't support Cory Booker either, and I know because I used to listen to these people on the radio. That Julian Castro, um, who's the other one? Elizabeth Warren. They all went in different camps. I even knew people who supported talking about, oh, I'm gonna ride with Michael Bloomberg.
What?
So here it is. Yeah, this is
Yeah.
it. Here it is. It's that thing. Me and Hal talked about this before, and I said it again. Black folks are not interested in having power. They're only fascinated by the concept of it. And I said it numerous times. The same way the caveman was fascinated when he saw fire. He was fascinated because he had never seen it before. He didn't realize that he could use fire to cook his food. He didn't use it to light his pathway, walking through the jungles. He didn't realize any of that. It's the same concept with black folks here in America. They don't want power because you're talking about heavy lifting. You're talking about going to Rwanda, having trips and getting on the ground, talking to people in Africa. You're talking about going to Liberia and getting on the ground, talking to people, and that's your birthright, and that's heavy lifting. But yet you want to stand here in this country and try to lift up the entire globe, which is impossible. They rather do that because trying to fix what America's problems is, it ain't happening. Not now, not ever. Empires fall. The Mali Empire fell. The Roman Empire fell. The British Empire fell. The French, all these empires fell. And this one's not even 300 years old. It's about to fall. It's already crumbling. And if people are not realizing that, and I told them, I was like, if you can't see that, you ain't fixing it. It is not black people's job to be the soul of America because
Thank
America doesn't
you.
have a
Thank
soul.
you. That's the point.
That's it.
That's the point that we got to emphasize too. You say it's not black people's job to educate white people, but yet you still are writing articles on teaching white people how to be better allies. If you
Which is
Nonsense.
madness.
if you really believe in what you just said, that black people should be able to live freely and black people should not have to educate white people, then why do you still want to stay here? Why would you say you can't? You're literally contradicting your own statements. You're saying on one hand you want black people to focus on themselves, self-care. We shouldn't be focusing on white people. But then in the very same token, you're saying we got to educate white people. We got to teach white people how to be a better ally. Well, which one is
No,
it? Which
I
one is
think
it?
I think we need some stronger tactics. Maybe when people were in cults and they had to get them out.
Mm-hmm.
Deprogram them.
Oh
Yep.
yeah, I think we need stronger tactics.
Yep. We're gonna have to do that. That's
You
just
making
reality.
you're the victim and you making excuses for your victimizer and you think, well, I won't be the victim if I educate my victimizer. No, the victimizer knows that, oh, well, I can do whatever I want to you and you're gonna come back no matter what. And it's the same thing. The abused wife, battered wife syndrome, Stockholm. You can take any term you want to use. It's the same thing.
It is.
And we, it gets. Me and Holla, we talk about this. This is why, Jabbar, and I used to be where you're at, man. I used to have a lot of patience. I still have some. I don't have as much as I used to. And Holla, y'all know my story. My patience is done. Like I said, I lost my parents. I'm done. I'm done. You know, I don't believe in this sunny optimism and stuff like that. You got to be insane. This is an open air mental asylum. You should not be comfortable living next door in an open air mental asylum and your damn neighbor is a goddamn Joker or he's goddamn Norman Osborn or Dr. Doom, Magneto, or Lex Luthor. You shouldn't be comfortable with that. No one should feel comfortable like that. But you want to know what? But people think that's fun. Oh well, I know this person because he does this, this, and that. And yeah. He's a homicidal maniac. Doesn't mean you should be friends with him. We live in a country where
Allies.
allies, and not even someone. My friend asked me, he was like, "Well, what about white allies? What can we do, white allies? White allies, if that's the term you want to use, here's the term they should use. They should shut up and be quiet. They don't have the right to speak on issues pertaining to black folks here or abroad.
Exactly. And
And
that's
and,
what we
and,
need to
and,
defend.
and here's the worst thing when I hear people say white allies. Well, what is the end game for black people? Because how can white people be an ally if they don't even know what the end game for black people is?
Thank you.
They have their own idea.
Thank you. I've been saying that.
Remember,
It's like, what is the end game is one of the questions. What is the end game? What is the black agenda? What's the end game?
Well, you know that there is none. How
when you talk about these
market.
people that are used to defining the social fabric, the social constructs for other people, we have been the other people. And what we're doing here is saying we're no longer letting Whitey decide, letting Whitey tell us. We are defining.
Wasn't this whole live stream when from the very beginning talking about how the Black to Africa movements was sabotaged? And what did I say? This been sabotaged since when? The 1700s. It's
Exactly.
2022. It's been close to 300 years, over 200 years, where we have been sabotaged. And like you guys said, like the great Brian said, if they wanted to have been true allies or have done with the problem, they would have done it a long time ago.
Yeah, they have their movement.
The conversations we're having now are literally the exact same conversations. The conversation we are having right now as the four of us are the same conversations our ancestors were having in 1920, in 1820. We're literally having a 200-year-old conversation on whether or not we should stay or should we go. Well, we already decided we're going to go, but we've been having this conversation for over 200 years.
Yep. We just had it today.
Exactly.
We just had a conversation today. Well, I mean, do you really want Liberia? Is Liberia the place to go? We still having this conversation.
But you got people here who willing, like, you know that you're dealing with a lynch mob, and how much rope are you going to give them to lynch your ass? 6 feet, 12 feet, 100 feet, doesn't matter. You're still getting lynched. And this is, for me,
And you know what's
it's ridiculous, man.
And you know what's worse is our ancestors weren't able to go back to Africa because they didn't have the means to go or they didn't have the money to go. Today, you have the will, you have the opportunity to go. There's no excuses. Because make no mistake, if your ancestors had the money and the resources to have been able, they would have bounced. They would have been bounced.
All that mental and physical trauma they suffered, there's no way in hell. And even that aspect, you're looking at just the severe mental trauma that black folks have suffered for almost 5 centuries on these shores. And that's something that has to be overcome as well. You know, because when I talk to people, I'm like, if you're talking about, like if my mother has, like, I could be susceptible to diabetes, so my mother had diabetes. It's the same thing with mental trauma. It passes down from one generation to one generation, generation after the next. Like Jabari was talking numerous times, he said this about, the baby boomers. They created this narrative, this antiquated thinking narrative that doesn't work. And then it just passes on. And then they just recycle it. And then they push the Hollops to the side. They push the Sears to the side. They push me, Yamoja, all the people who would think like we do, we get pushed to the side. And then when you talk to people, like my friend Chris, he's always like, oh, I was like, I'm not saying you in general. I was like, but these individuals, they created me. They created Malcolm X. They created Dr. Amos Wilson. They created John Henry Clark. They created Garvey, Marvin Lane. These people created us. They created us. I was like, because we're pushing it back against what we know is not going to work.
That's why black nationalism, that's the whole purpose of black nationalism. Black nationalism and black separatism was a response to white supremacy. That's how it came into being. It didn't just come out of thin air. It was a response to the treatment that black people were being mistreated. So black people said, we need to have somewhere of our own because we were being mistreated and abused. That's literally the whole reason why it was created.
Yeah. The pushback that, like, when I talk to people, they're like, "What?" And I know how you feel about Dr. King, Jabari, and I was like,
I,
look,
oh,
I
I said it
respect the
earlier.
man.
I said
Yeah,
it
I know.
earlier. I don't. He's not like one of my major heroes. I understand his effort, but he's not one of my major
Yeah,
heroes. He's
and
not.
this is how the litmus test that woke bots do. Woke bots do well. Dr. King, I'm like, look, I'll give you honest. I was like, everything that Dr. King did. I was like, you want to know the most important thing that he said that encompasses everything else that he accomplished? And he was like, what? I was like, he told Harry Belafonte Jr. that he felt like he integrated his people into a burning house. That right there says it all. That means that everything that he did, somewhere in the back of his mind, he was like, you know what? I may have doomed my people to hell on earth because you did all this stuff. He met with Johnson. He did all this different stuff like that before JFK, all that different stuff like that. And Malcolm used to point that out numerous times about how they was compromised and stuff like that. And no one talks about that either. Like they forget that Malcolm basically broke down the whole civil rights movement, the whole thing. Like, oh, this one, they brought him in. They brought in Jewish rabbis and this one, all stuff like that. And there it is. You brought in your white allies to control the movement.
Yeah, and they love Dr. King when like I said, when he passed the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Once he started criticizing the Vietnam War, that's when Dr. King learned the hard way. When he started criticizing Vietnam and he started changing tune, all of a sudden, them civil rights leaders abandoned him with a quickness.
All of them. Andrew Young, Bayard Rustin, Whitney, April, all Randolph, all them dudes, they bounce, man. They ran from him like like they was in an elevator. He busted a fart and they couldn't wait to get out the elevator. So they do this stuff, and when we push back against this, and people get mad, I said, look, man, we ain't throwing daggers. If that's what you think, we're not throwing daggers. We're not throwing poison daggers. We're critiquing it. We're looking at it logically. Like, look, this didn't work. This didn't work because if it did, you can't tell me that everything they did before is working because they did. There wouldn't be no BAIO. There would have been no Malcolm. There would have been no John Henry Clark. No Amos Wilson. No Martin Delane. None of that. None of that. Nothing. We'd be living here in harmony with little, white picket fences. They want to have a house, a white picket fence, a golden retriever. You got your mailbox there with your name on it and stuff like that. It'd be like those 50 sitcoms. And that is not what is happening.
Yeah, because they don't know it's a burning house. We need to show them that it's a burning house.
Yeah.
They feel those flames burning on their ass. They'll know what it is. Like, damn, my ass is on fire. Well, you sitting in a burning house. How could you not?
And this goes back to the movements of our ancestors. Why was Garvey movement the largest mass movement in Black history? There's a reason why his movement was the largest in Black history. There's a reason for that. Because his message resonated with people. His message wasn't just, there's a reason why the UNIA in the 1920s had more followers than the NAACP. There's a reason why today a lot of people don't fool with the NAACP.
That would be me.
There's a reason.
They're grimy, man. I mean, you think, look, if people don't know how, I'll give one example of how grimy the NAACP is, even the Urban League. And there's numerous accounts, but the same person who did the interview with was interviewing me for his show, which is his people around him, which they had a problem with me coming on the show, and I didn't even go in. I was basically very calm and placid. I didn't go deep. I remember with his nonprofit, he was having a problem. This was probably 2009, 2010. The NAACP and the Urban League was trying to shut down his nonprofit in our home city, in Newark, where our parents were born at and grew up at. And they didn't want him doing what he was doing for the kids in Newark. That shows you just how grimy they are. That what you're going to try to shut down a Black man who wants to do something for the people of the city that his parents grew up in, his father grew up in, as well as my father. What is it? You should be working with him, but they didn't like whatever his message was. That right there.
Respectability policies.
Yeah. So this is the bullshit that they represent. And on top of that, just the corporate money that they take. Coca-Cola. You can run down the litany of them, man. Telecommunication companies, stuff like that. So their agenda is, or what banks are, I mean, come on. You can't be doing things for the Black, even that for the Black community. You can't do things for the Black community unless your paymasters tell you, like, well, let's look at the plan. Well, we don't like this and that, but here, we'll give you the money. We want this to be in the plan. And that's the part that these politicians don't seem to understand. These people who roll out with the Democratic Party or the Republican Party is that you cannot have a political program
That goes against the
that
party
supports
apparatus.
that supports black folks in general, because you alienate the base. You alienate your white base, then you got to deal with the Latino community or other different. You got the LGBT community. There is no black power. There is no black power program that the DNC could put forth. It's not going to happen. That's why you're not going to get reparations.
Exactly. And what black folks don't understand is people say, well, black folks are the backbone of the Democratic Party. Black folks may vote overwhelmingly for the Democrats, but guess what? Black folks only make up 22% of the Democratic electorate. That means the other 78% of it is non-black. You need those non-black voters to show up.
Yeah, there has to be a critique. Like, I talked to my uncle the other day. We were talking about this, and I said, you know, I'm a football fan. You know, I like Dallas. I haven't bought any of their merchandise in damn near almost 30 years. And he asked me why. I was like, because I don't like the product. I was like, and that's to be the same way when you're dealing with these political parties or these so-called the NAACP. If you don't like the product, don't support them. If they're not speaking on your behalf, you gotta jettison them. You know, if I go to a grocer, you know, or all these different things, they have all these different things. He was like, I can't knock you on that. And that should be. Black folks, the woke side, they spend too much time diversity. We gotta have diversity, stuff like that. And even people I know that they're like, well, you gotta have a diverse. I like, says who? I'm like, you like Chinese food? Like, I love Chinese food. And I told him, I was like, you go to a Chinese restaurant, you sit down, the person who greets you at the door, the maitre d', he's Chinese. Your waiter, he's Chinese. The people who cook your food, they're Chinese. You're sitting there and never comes to your mind, like, you know what? I'm in this restaurant, but there needs more diversity. But yet you can go to a black-owned restaurant, go in there and say, you know what? There needs to be more diversity here. Why?
That's the propaganda that's always sold to black people. So
exactly.
That's another part of it too. Like I'm not even in the US, I'm in Canada. And that whole diversity argument runs rampant
And
here because
also I said this, and this is we need to break down. And I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna make two TikToks in a writing a Medium article. Diversity is not representation. And we need to break that down. Diversity is not representation.
It's not.
well, diversity is a fact. Yes, there's diverse people in the world, but the way that it's propagandized on this continent is
the
what
reason
the
why
distortion
the reason why I say diversity is not representation is because you can have a black face in whatever company you want. Representation means, do they represent their constituents? Do they represent the community that they come from? Do they represent the ideology, the tradition, the black traditions that they come from? If they don't, they are not a representative. They are just a member of that organization. They're just filling the diversity quota. They're not representative, because if they were actually representatives, they would represent the ideology and the outlook that their community has.
Man, that's never going to happen. So
exactly. So it's diverse. So you just have diversity. You don't have representation because they don't represent the grassroots. They don't represent their communities. They show hostility to their communities. They're not representatives. They're just a diverse group of people. And
I've had people argue with me that your representative doesn't have to live in the neighborhood that you live in. I've had people argue with me with that.
See?
What? So you want somebody to represent you that doesn't even live with you, that doesn't even live around you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're doing it in Mexico because of the cartel.
See? How can this not be Arkham Asylum? This is all crazy shit. This is crazy, man.
So you're saying it's okay for a politician to live somewhere where they can't relate to the people. Then you get mad when politicians don't do anything.
But see, I understand why they said that, because they probably want to be a representative. It's just like like you have poor people who plead on behalf of rich people. Like when they say rich people need to be taxed more, poor folks are the first person to jump up and say, "Oh, I don't think that's right." Why? Because they see themselves as billionaires in the future.
Yeah, good luck with that.
And they don't want you to take away their money when they get it.
I want you to understand this. honest, like I told, I sent this back to y'all earlier. You're more likely to get struck by lightning than you are to be a billionaire. So why y'all like this is what we mean not living in reality. That's why to me I don't care about the like I used to want to I want to I remember when I was younger, I was like, I want to write a book to become famous. That was the main reason why I wanted to write a book. Now I don't view it that way anymore. Because I'm older and I've learned more. And I'm like, I want to write a book so that it can influence people. I want to write a book that's representative of the community, representative of my ideology, of my growth and expansion. But you have people today that think like they're going to become a billionaire when you're more likely to get struck by lightning.
But it's what Asia said before. It's right there on TV, on Netflix or Amazon.
Propaganda.
All these shows, you can watch these people, or these people have these fake reality TV shows where they become celebrities overnight for being assholes or just being jerks. Like, oh, well, she's a celebrity. She's a celebrity because she's an asshole. She's just being herself, ramping up maybe a couple levels. But that's what America sells this ridiculous, fake reality that you pull up your bootstrap. You never gave anyone boots or straps to strap with their boots. You give none of that. You're basically just it's not going to happen that way. You have to be a psychopath to become a billionaire. You got to be willing to step on people's toes, cut throats, do whatever you do to get what you want to be at that place. Matter of fact, if I've always believed that if the pantheon gods who once so-called inhabited the planet, you know why they disappeared? Because of wealth. People, these are the gods. Jeff Bezos is a god. Elon Musk is a god because they get treated like gods. They roll out the red carpet. They do this. They have these. They can buy up specific areas in this place. You can't have access to this, and that's what people want. They want to be walled off from people and just have their little entourage around them and have them kissing their feet and kissing their ass and doing whatever the hell they want. And that is not reality. That's reality for someone like Jeff Bezos because he created that reality by being a psychopath to get what he needed. The same thing with Elon Musk. He's brilliant, but he's a psychopath. The average person is not a psychopath. They have empathy for. I tell people right now, if you think you're a psychopath,
Understand, Ronan. Understand the situations going on with the Amazon, with the labor unions right now, and you know this because y'all live in New York about Amazon unionizing in Staten Island. The amount of union busting tactics that Amazon was doing was insane, almost to the point it was illegal in some instances, similar to what they did in Bessemer, Alabama. Look at what they're doing at Starbucks, where they're starting to unionize now, right? Howard Schultz compared it to the Holocaust. Howard Schultz, the CEO of Starbucks, is literally putting out fake tweets to stop Starbucks companies from Starbucks businesses from unionizing. He's literally trying to give benefits exclusively to non-union members. This is what we mean. Billionaires are not nice people. They're not like, stop treating them like they're nice people. They're cruel people.
They can't do it though, Jabbar, because they're gods to these people. They're literally gods. Look at the celebrities. They're gods. Look at what just happened a few weeks ago. You did a live stream. You had people breaking down this whole thing with Chris Rock and Will Smith. Why? They're not important. They're irrelevant. One's a comedian, the other one's an actor, but they just go on and on and on because people are fascinated. They want that life. They want the drama, even though it's drama. They want that. They're fascinated.
I'm about to say I wouldn't want that drama in my life.
But you're thinking rationally. The other people are not thinking like that. Right? That's just it. They're not thinking like that. Matter of fact, I put a perfect example. We was out last night, and I told Holla, and who was that? I played football, and people have asked me this numerous times. If you know what you know now, would you do it all over again? And I said no, because it wasn't worth it. I got nothing out of playing football. I got the concept of what teamwork works. Other than that, but that can be learned doing something else. I didn't got nothing for the physical beating that I took. It wasn't worth it. I got nothing out of it. And that's me being rational, being honest. Yeah, it was something I was gifted, something I did very well. I got nothing out of it. And I look at it from a larger scale is that here are black folks putting all their energy into the Democratic Party, and outside of getting a few people here, a few people there, you've gotten nothing out of it. Because if you did, you wouldn't be in this situation in the first place. You cannot bitch and complain at the people who put you in the situation and expect them to give you something in return. They owe you nothing. And I've said this before to other black folks. White folks don't owe black folks a goddamn thing. And they feel that way. You want to know why? Because they wrote the history. They slaughtered the Native Americans. They enslaved you. They beat you down physically. They beat you down mentally. You come to them begging for crumbs. They owe you nothing. Not a goddamn thing. Until black folks understand that. Is that, you know what? I don't agree with their tactics, but I want power like they. Then I can go to them like, you know what? I have my own nation and I don't owe you a goddamn thing. You want to do what you want to do in your nation, then you do it there. But you'll be damned if you don't come over here and do it in our nation.
And we can start saying, okay, if you want us, if you want us to do something, then you got to do it on our terms.
Yes, we can have a business arrangement. Plain and simple, a business
Not
arrangement.
in love, because people don't understand what that whole ally thing it means. Allies could switch like like the fucking weather.
Yeah.
It all depends on why you're an ally with somebody. It's not, and you don't fall in love with allies.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you shouldn't fall. People fall in love with the Democratic Party. They treat these political parties like it's sports. Sports is not,
Yep.
unless you are insane, like to a degree. Like, oh, I get sick. When the Eagles lose, I get sick to my stomach. All right, you have issues, but it's sports. It's there to entertain you for a few hours. Oh, you'd be mad the team's over. You're talking about engaging with these political parties who are doing nothing to help you. They're just creating. You're making your environment worse. Look at New York. New York just gave the Buffalo Bills $850 million to build a stadium. How's that going to impact the people in New York? It's going to F up their taxes.
Mm-hmm.
You see, all of these things white people have learned from going to warfare and being the oppressor, being the killers, how many centuries. And this is why our people need to realize what we have lost, not being able to engage that way, not being the oppressors and the ones killing, or just the lessons of warfare and tactics and strategy and just learning human nature and how to control people. We have a big gap in our learning.
Yeah. Created like Hollis said, they created scattered individuals.
Right.
Black folks. That's what we are. We're scattered individuals. Fighting over dumb shit. Well, I'm a Native American. I'm this or that. I'm a Ripper or what Aboriginal or this or that. All this other crazy shit, and not looking at the big prize. Like, you know what? I want to be able. When Hollow went to Rwanda, he got back. He called me. This was Hollow was like 3-4 years ago. I was at work and we were talking. He was telling me all the stuff like that, and he told me, and it's true. I need to get away from here for a while because this place will turn you into something that you won't recognize. It's done it to me. It broke my father. This place turned me into. I mean, my cousin gave me my name because it's what it turned me into. It turned me into a goddamn Ronin. This place is tainted. And I'm not being spiritual. I'm just being honest. The history books say if you go to a country and you wipe out 22 million people and you basically confine them to living on concentration camps / reservations, nothing good can come out of this in the long run. And then you go bring people over here and you enslave them and have them cook your food, take care of your children, till your land, all stuff like that. Nothing good comes out of it. I don't care how many black officials you elect. I don't care how many Supreme Court justices you elect, police commissioners, none of that. I don't care. It means nothing. You could police commissioner. They got a black police commissioner here in Philadelphia. So big deal. Well, what does that mean? But you could go to some white suburb outside of Philadelphia, and guess what? The commissioner is white. You can have an all-black community, and your police commissioner is white. They ain't gonna let some black commissioner. He's gonna be in a short lease if they got a black commissioner in a white town, a very short lease, and he can't talk no pro-black stuff. It ain't happening. He's out. He's out. And and even those who are Pan Africanists, because I've seen some of these shows on YouTube, stuff like that. They're romanticizing the 60s, the Black Panther Party, this and that, communism, all this. Come on, man, go ahead with that bullshit. Come on.
Exactly.
They weren't that popular when they were around.
It needs to retire.
Yeah.
I look at it from a football standpoint. You in the 21st century, and the NFL is a passing league. You ain't coming into the NFL running the goddamn wishbone, because that's what these cats are doing. The wishbone ain't working in the 21st century. If they ain't running that shit in high school, it ain't gonna run. It ain't happening. And that's what they're doing. They're romanticizing this. We gotta, or like I said, this is struggle. There's nothing good coming out of this. The only thing you should struggle to do is build your nation or building your own business. You shouldn't struggle to breathe. You shouldn't struggle to go to these politicians and say, well, the struggle continues. The fight continues. It ain't no fight.
Exactly.
You're struggling. If you want to struggle, I hear all the time, the struggle continues. If Mrs. I forgot her name, the Supreme Court judge, she had gotten nominated, you know what they would have said? Well, the struggle continues. I don't like struggling to breathe. I know if I have some 300-pound dude sitting on my chest, like, yo, yeah, I'm comfortable with you sitting on my chest because I can't breathe. I'm struggling to get air in. That's not good. You shouldn't struggle to get food. You shouldn't struggle to get water. You shouldn't struggle to get money. None of that. But this is the concept that Black folks, these people who are supposedly in positions of power, speaking for Black folks, the struggle continues. You taking L's. You shouldn't have to be taking L's over and over and over again. How many L's must you take before you get tired of it? I know I'm tired of it. I know Asir's tired of it. I know Howard's tired of it. I know Jabari's tired of it. You got different age groups on here who are tired of it. I know people who are listening in the chat, they're tired of it, because if they wasn't, they wouldn't be here right now. They wouldn't be, I'm tired of it.
Yeah,
And,
people need to realize too that every generation needs to upgrade and get rid of that, like you said, get rid of that word struggle, because basic human rights need to be fulfilled. Okay, we've got that. Now what's next? We need to identify and draw that and map it out, that once this problem is fixed, we move up the ladder to something else. No more struggle. You shouldn't have to struggle. New immigrants are coming into the country every day. They ain't struggling. They're getting money straight up front.
That's why they came there. They didn't come there to struggle. Like, we need to stop acting like it's the same thing when people say, when they talk about, oh, we're gentrifying Africa. Like, what?
They don't even know the name of the term. Can't even define it.
Like, they can't.
Wait. I'm sorry.
I literally saw a TikTok video, and the person said, I don't want to go to a country where I feel like I'm gentrifying the community.
Wow. This is a Black person saying this.
Yes.
Wow.
But
there you go.
That making, that's making my eyes hurt. It's so.
There you go. There you go. See, people like us cannot talk to those people. I'm sorry. I have a limited amount of energy on this earth. I am not going to waste it talking to fucking mouth breathers.
If someone said that to me, I probably would faint right in front of them. I just would, just pass right out. Why'd you pass out?
I don't like, they have a right to exist. Everybody has a right to exist. You can exist and be that, have that level of stupidity if you want to. I don't have to deal with it. Let me deal with the people of like mind that actually know what time it is and want to get something done. Let me deal with those people.
I don't want to go to Africa, so I feel like I'm gentrifying it. Holy shit. Well,
yep.
Another propaganda argument.
But did someone post in the group that one of the Hampton, one of the HBCUs, were giving free room and board to
Ukrainians,
Ukrainian refugees. See, God, man, really? This what? Oh, God, sometimes I feel like, man, like
like that's why I tell you. Like,
I hear stuff like this, man. Like, it's like, it feels like
you just want to dip. You just want to dip. You just like, I just need a dip, and what it's whatever with this nationhood. I got to dip. I got to get out of here. Like, that's how somebody.
What it does. It makes me believe, like, that they're alternate Earths. Like, probably one day I was driving in my car, I drove through a fog bank, and I ended up on a different Earth. And this one is completely insane. That's why I look at fog banks. Like, maybe if I drive through this fog bank, maybe I'll get back to my Earth, because this one I can't.
Yeah, where's the portal at? Let's find the portal, because this one we didn't put us in the alternate universe.
either that or let the goddamn Star Trek Enterprise show up and I'm like, yeah, take me to the 21st century. Get me the hell up out of here because I can't take this. This is ridiculous. Like, addicted to
Yeah,
struggle.
we're colonizers. I heard that too. We're colonizers.
We're colonized. God.
There's always going to be mudslinging. So the best that we can do is identify who are the like-mindeds that are with us and who are the ones that show up disingenuous and ignore them because you're not going to build with those people. And you're going to waste your breath trying to counter them in arguments.
Thank
What for?
you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
counter. And if they don't have the intelligence to see what we see, too bad for them. They're going to be the left behind.
You know what these people are? Like, did anyone see, to see the first episode of Moon Knight, the first scene where the guy was putting glass, when Harold was putting glass in his shoes? These are what these people are. They think it's comfortable to take shards of glass, break that shit up, and put it in their shoes and walk around in them all day. That's what that is. Like, damn, you do that? Yeah, but it's comfortable. You're walking with glass in your shoes. This is crazy.
But they'll do it because they're in a cult. Remember, if they're in a cult, they're going to do what the cult leader tells them to do, regardless of they're not going to employ.
There's no rationality.
There's no rationality. It's a cult. And the sooner we get to identify that, the better, because you need cult tactics of deprogramming to counter that.
But in order to deprogram them, you got to give them somewhere to land. Like, that's the thing, and that's one of the things. Like, we got to give them somewhere to land. Like, they might like, I want out, but like, I gotta have somewhere to land, and I got to be able to be vulnerable. That ain't
the best way I can tell y'all what it feels like for me and Ronan, and you tell me, Ronan, if I'm correct in this. Imagine you have a cell phone and your battery life is at 50, but it's the morning time. And that 50% has to last you for the rest of the day.
I've been there.
Am I wrong?
No, that's why I'm laughing, man. No.
That 50% battery got to last you for the rest. So that rest of that day, equate that to the rest of our lives.
Oh.
Aren't you going to be very careful with how you spend that energy?
That's why I'm laughing, man. Because it's dead on. It's right on. Like what are you doing?
That's where I am.
So that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at, man.
For you. You can charge your phone. No, I just got to use this 50%.
Now, if I got 90% energy like Jabari, I'm going to have a totally different way of going about the day.
Yep.
Oh boy, I swear, man.
So that's what we got to see. Where's our energy at? Where's our battery energy at individually? And that way, you know what we can or cannot deal with. Because I know for me, I ain't gonna waste my time dealing with that shit that we just talked about. Not dealing with it. I'd rather have discussions with Ronan, with Jabari. We've had all types of debates on tactics. That's beautiful. I love that. That's productive. You know what I'm saying? Like when we go to the Discord, we have all types of debates on stuff. Jabari will say something and people are like, whoa, what are you talking about? I'll say something and be like, whoa, are you crazy? We go debating tactics and strategies. I can do that all day long. I'm not going to debate fundamental principles. I'm not going to have an argument with somebody about whether or not 2 + 2 is 4.
Agreed.
Not going to do it.
That's what I say, man. I just got so much appreciation for y'all.
Yeah, for real. For real.
I truly do, man. Like, even when I listen on Discord, most times I'm either muted, I'm either exercising, or because I got people here, whatever. Just the appreciation, because I don't think, outside of my immediate family, I don't know if I could have got through these last 2 years without the members in this group. And that's for real. There's just no effing way. Just the amount of shit that just keeps on. There's no effing way.
Yeah, I agree, man.
I have a profound appreciation for everyone here on the live stream, everyone in the group. They know who they are. In the chat, I appreciate it 100% because if it wasn't for this group, man, I would probably Well, no, I would leave the country, but if I didn't have the means, I would check myself into a mental institution. I was like, yeah, I'm here. Why? Just
Yeah.
don't ask why. I'm just here. I can't take no more.
I
Just
had a
give me
mental
my
breakdown.
pills.
Yeah, I'll say I had a mental breakdown, and
Yeah, I look at it. Jabari gives me profound hope because of his youth, his knowledge and wisdom from him being so young. That really lifts my spirits. Hearing Emoja, underrated, Chima, all, just some of the younger members and stuff like that, hearing Asir, Spirit Lifter, Salima, all of that, because they realize like, yo, because the first thing when people think, you talk in nationhood is what the brothers are doing. No one even equates what the sisters are talking about. And that's huge. I appreciate the shows, what they do. I appreciate everything that everyone does because it gives me strength. It makes me like, all right, yeah, I can go to bat against some of the silly nonsense that people are talking because they don't know what the hell they're talking about. You know, the members the people who listen, who are coming to chat, Baruti, some of the questions that he asked, Vanessa, you know, like I mean, all of that, man. I respect all of that, man. I appreciate that a great deal because it's important, you know, for those who are on board, who believe in nation, who are part of BAIO, or those who are thinking, look, this is where you want to be. This is the place you want to be. We ain't trying to shame nobody. Like that cat who was on here before, he was just trolling. You sincere about wanting to have your own place. You talk about it. People are looking from a standpoint. You know, I got a 24-year-old and now I have an 11-year-old. And I'm not going to be here. I'm not always going to be here to protect my daughter or protect my stepson. But I want their future to be secure, and I want their future to be secure somewhere else but here. And I think people need to understand that. And even my uncle, who's older than me, he was like, I can't knock you on how you feel about that. I made it clear, I do not want to be buried in this goddamn country. I don't.
Oh my gosh, it's not just me. I felt the same.
And you know what they're doing? They putting every black person, and this is why I'm very sympathetic to the average black person, because they putting the average black person in a position where they got to make a choice. Am I going to work for some non-existent cause that don't benefit me, or am I going to look out for myself? That's a real thing. That's a real thing. I'd never trivialize that. I never trivialize that. You could, because you can go either way. You could just say, fuck this collective stuff. It's just about me. You could do that. And I can't even say that you're wrong. Because where's your support system?
Yeah.
If you want to go the other way, where's the support system that's going to support you and your family and your needs going into the future? Because right now, it don't exist.
Exactly.
We're trying to create it so that it does exist, so that that is an option for you. That's the stage we're at now. We're trying to create that support system for you. So
Something else, just one quick thing with how it just said that, and anyone, you're out there, you listen, think about this. We will consider average everyday. Me and Halep always say this, man. We just two dudes from around the way, from the hood. If someone out there who thinks that they're so much brilliant than Halep, myself, Jabari, Asiri, Umoja, Salima, Spirit Lifters, Muffin Man, underrated Chima, then come in here and do the work. Jabari's doing the work, House doing the work, Asiri's doing the work, Umoja's doing the work. Everyone's doing their part. Don't sit up here like you like you royalty or whatever, like you're above the fray. Step your ass into the arena and do something. Because this ain't it. It's not it. And you can't sit up there thinking that you above the fray or you better than us because I'm supremely educated. You ain't educated enough to realize that you need a nation state for your own. You ain't educated enough to realize that if you really want to make moves, if you like stock, you want to make moves, you want to make a company capitulate to you, why don't you start buying up vast numbers of amount of stock in that company? You can become a controlling interest of that company, and maybe you could do something that benefits you. Ain't no one's doing that. I don't hear none of these geniuses doing that.
and that's
No
the
one's talking
easy
about that.
thing. There's been plenty of people that's offered that alternative. You can literally, we could target a company to attack and have black people buy up on the majority of the shares. Boom, it's our company now. It's that easy.
Yep.
But this is when you start thinking as a collective and not as individuals. And right now, like I said before, we're black people in America are a scattered group of individualists, and the only thing that aligns us is aesthetic similarities. That's it. People can look at us and say we black.
Yep.
That's the only thing that aligns us. On a socioeconomic and political level, we are not a we. There's no we, there's no us, there's no our. It doesn't fucking exist. And all we're saying is, let's make it something tangible. Let's make it something concrete that actually exists in real time that we can use a GPS to get to.
Word. I agree.
This was a good live. Really important.
Yeah.
That's a good final word.
Yeah, definitely. I love all of y'all, man. Love you to death. And it was pleasure hanging out with you yesterday, Ronan.
Yeah, man. Yo, that
Pleasure.
lobster
Had a
mac
good
I got
time,
last
man.
night, that lobster mac, yo, man.
Oh,
The
yeah.
one I got to go, yo, on the real, it tastes good, man. But yo, for $16, they need to give me more than that shit, yo. I'm like, come on. $16 for that little ass container? Nah, I ain't trying to hear that, yo. Come on.
Oh wow.
It's delicious. I'm not gonna lie. It tastes good, but you know.
What would you got? You got the bites?
Nah, I got the lobster mac and cheese, the side or whatever.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. Go for $16. I'm like looking at that package. I'm like, yo, it's kind of small, man. What's that about?
Yeah, that's the price of being in the city.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I had a good time last night, man. So
Yeah, definitely. And anybody it's in Atlanta, I will be in Atlanta from the 6th to the 9th. So if you're in Atlanta, you want to check me out, I'm going to go to
Oh
see
my
Dr.
God!
Strange from the 6th to the 9th.
If you could have just came 2 weeks later, man.
Oh, you gonna be gone?
No, I was gonna move. I'm gonna be transitioning to Atlanta for my job. That's why.
Oh, okay.
the word? My daughter's in Atlanta.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my daughter's she works in the field of child psychology. So yeah, she works in Atlanta.
Cool. But yeah, so I'll be there. Anybody want to, holler at me? I'll be definitely in your city, and we're going to see Dr. Strange. That's a family event. But anyway, y'all, it's been real. We've been on here for 3 hours and 27 minutes. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And enjoy the rest of your day. Is anybody going to be on the Discord tonight?
I am. You know me. I show up.
I'm gonna be there.
I'll be there.
I'll be there.
I'll be there. I'm trying to work on get some new material to put out on
And we'll end that with today. I love how we run trolls off now instead of engaging with dishonest buffoons. Peace to the BAIO. And with
Peace
that,
to you, Michael McGarry.
Peace,
Peace
fam.
to you.
Peace.
Peace, brother.
Holler at y'all later.
Peace.
All right,
All right.